this champion.
The man is incredible.
Emmitt Smith. Photo finish.
This is ABC Sports.
It's prime time in Oakland, and the city is ready for Monday Night Football. The Oakland Raiders are the original counterculture sports franchise. An edgy mix of image, success, and attitude. This is the haven for pro football's most talented renegades, for the underappreciated and the misunderstood. No problem for Al Davis. The rebel on the move, Jeff George, left his hometown, taking with him a fiery talent. In Atlanta, he challenged authority in classic renegade fashion. But here in Oakland, he is welcomed with open arms. His impact has been immediate. Last week, in his first game as a Raider, Jeff George threw 3 touchdown passes. This is an environment where your staggering skills can flourish. When it came time to find a home, there was no doubt the Raiders were the team for Jeff George.
The main thing about the Raiders, and for me, the mystique is what got my attention. And I wanted to be a part of that. Growing up, you watch teams and you grew up around the teams that are the great ones, and the Raiders were definitely always one of those. And now I'm the leader of that team, and I'm very excited about that.
And the Raiders are excited about having him wear silver and black. One of the most fierce rivalries in the NFL, the Chiefs and the Raiders, on ABC's Monday Night Football.
Prime time, this is what football is all about.
We got the noise. Bring it. Bring on the game.
Like a freight train moving at the speed of light, like a knockout punch in a title fight. The Chiefs square off against the big bad Raiders. By the end, one of them will be mashed potatoes. Yeah. You better be ready. You better get right.
Check this out.
KC and Oakland duke it out tonight. Hit it. Come on and hit it. Come on and get ready.
Be ready.
Monday night, baby. Are you ready for some football?
Be ready.
A Monday night
Party, party, party.
We got Frank and Al and Dan. They're gonna get it started. Chris and Lynn are all set. The crowd is sight. All my rowdy friends are here on Monday night.
Bring on the game.
The city of Oakland in the foreground with the San Francisco Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge in the background on a perfect night for football. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum is sold out tonight. The Raiders and the Chiefs are getting it on one more time. Hello again, everyone. Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan DIERDOFF. Happy you're with us. Good matchup for you tonight. The Raiders and the Chiefs. Both teams missed the playoffs a year ago. Both teams have made major changes. The Raiders changed at the top. They brought in Joe Bugle as head coach, and they brought in a controversial but very talented quarterback, Jeff George. Meanwhile, Kansas City was 9-7. That was ugly for Marty Schottenheimer. He not only changed quarterbacks, Al, he cleaned house, and he did.
Well, it was ugly because they didn't make the playoffs, Frank, something they had done every year from 1990 through 1995. They decided to play a pat hand last year, and they didn't go to the playoffs for the first time in this decade. So they cleaned house indeed. Elvis Gerbach, the former 49ers, the new quarterback. Marcus Allen is now a backup. Greg Hill is the featured ball carrier. And they have 7 new starters on offense and 5 new starters on defense. But with all of those new faces, they didn't meld very well last week, and they lost to Denver by a score of 19-3. Keep in mind, Marty Schottenheimer has been a coach in the National Football League since 1984. He has never had one of his teams begin a season with a record of 0-2. And tonight, Dan, he faces a team that tries to begin its season by not going 0-2 as well.
And now the Raiders lost last week in overtime to the Tennessee Oilers. They didn't play a bad football game with the exception of their inability to control the line of scrimmage. Their passing game was there, as Frank mentioned. Jeff George had 3 touchdown passes to the great Timmy Brown, but they are the last team in the NFL in rushing the football. They only ran it for 45 yards last week, and they gave up an astounding 255 yards to the Oilers. That has to change. You can't be last in both of those departments in the NFL and expect to win football games. The other thing Joe Bugle's team needs to learn how to do, win close football games. Amazingly, in the last 13 ball games the Raiders have played that have been decided by 7 points or less, they have won only 1 of those 13 games. They need to learn to win tight ball games. We'll be back here to Oakland for the kickoff. It ought to be a fun night. Stay with us, everybody. Monday Night Football right after this.
always been a battle. I'm Lynn Swan with head coach Marty Schottenheimer, who has a 14-5 record against the Raiders. Coach, what's your secret? Give us some insight into your plan to make that 15 tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're always a tough physical team, Lynn. The thing that you have to do is compete every snap against them because they're very talented.
Coach, thank you very much. Good luck to you. And Al, we are ready for some football.
On a gorgeous night, Lynn, Coliseum is still filling up. There is a rapid transit strike in the Bay Area, and so a lot of people who come via the train late in arriving tonight. The traffic, of course, is worse than it would normally be, but they'll have a full house before it's all over and done with, as Tomerick Vanover drops back to receive the kickoff, and Cole Ford to send it in the air for the Oakland Raiders. Last time these two teams faced each other, as you look at Jeff George, was in the next to last game last season. It was a Monday night game, and the Raiders routed Kansas City 26-7. But apart from that, Kansas City has really dominated this rivalry in this decade. Ford's kick is a good one. Vanover will down it in the end zone. And Kansas City will begin its first drive from the 20-yard line. Last year it was Steve Bono. At the end of the year, Rich Gannon had taken over, and they went into the free agent market and plucked Elvis Gerbach, whom the 49ers tried very hard to keep as the backup to Steve Young. Greg Hill is now the feature back. Kimball Anders the fullback. He's been to the Pro Bowl. Andre Rison and Lake Dawson the wideouts, and Ted Popson, the next 49er, the tight end. The strength of that unit in the interior, the guards and the center, Criswell, Zott, Grunhard, Shields, and Glenn Parker, who's only been a Chief for about a week and a half. The longtime Buffalo Bill just signed. And Greg Hill picks up a couple to the 22-yard line. The defensive unit for the Oakland Raiders, Dan talking about the fact they were shredded last week. The guys up front who have to make the stops are Smith, Maryland, McLaughlin, one of the best, and Lance Johnstone in his second season. Fredrickson, Beekert, and Morton are the linebackers. And the secondary, McDaniel and Lewis, Trapp and Turner. Some big names, some prominent people, some Pro Bowlers in that unit, but you never would have known it in Memphis last week. They split Greg Hill wide to the right, put Anders in motion with no backs in this set. And Gerbach throws incomplete because the pressure was on. The secondary did its job. Lance Johnstone forced the issue, and it's 3rd down and 7.
Marty Schottenheimer disappointed last week against Denver when his offense really could not get untracked. Whether that was a tribute to the Denver defense or the lack of the offense having come together with a lot of new people, we'll find out more tonight. I know he's concerned. He wants chunks of yardage. He doesn't want pieces of yardage. He wants to get those big chunks that the Kansas City Chiefs have not gotten over the years.
At a little past 6 o'clock, Schottenheimer has to shield his eyes from the lowering sun, and a first down as Damon Hughes makes the catch. And Gerbach is on the money. McDaniel with the coverage. First down, Kansas City.
A couple of veteran cornerbacks, familiar names. If you follow this game, Albert Lewis over in the right corner and Terry McDaniel on the left corner. They've been around for a while, and you see the slip.
That's McDaniel, Frank, loses his footing as Hughes makes his cut to the outside. Terry tries to go with him and does the splits. It's a good way to pull a groin. Down on the field, though, before the game, it seemed very dry, did it not? Field's in good shape.
One back set, and then one back is Hill to the outside, and he can't turn the corner because Rob Fredrickson, with a lot of speed, is able to run him down after a minimal gain at the 36-yard line.
This Raider defense was embarrassed last week. Dan touched on the fact that Eddie George of the Oilers just tore them up. And wasn't that they were not in position so much. They put on an awesome, terrible display of tackling.
Well, talking to Fred Whittingham, their defensive coordinator, he said, you know, from a coaching standpoint, this was a very easy week. You don't have to say anything to a group of guys that get beat up as badly as they got handled in Tennessee last week.
They gave up 255 yards rushing.
On 2nd down and 9, the pass is to Tony Gonzalez, the rookie tight end, up to the 46, their top pick, and a kid who's playing down the road from where he started in college at the University of California in Berkeley, not only in football but in basketball as well. And there is Whittingham, the defensive coordinator.
And they love this young rookie out of California, Tony Gonzalez. He played in a similar offense at the University of California. Steve Mariucci, who's now the head coach of the 49ers, and they really think he has a great future. Big, 6'4", 244-pound rookie from California.
The Chiefs, who picked up back-to-back first downs, give it to Hill, and he can't get out of the backfield. Mike Morton wraps him up from behind, number 50, third-year man from North Carolina.
If either of these teams is going to have difficulty rushing the football, it's going to be there in the dirt infield. It's going to be hard to really dig in. It's going to be hard for a back to make a 45-degree cut, really go back against the grain. They're going to have to be very cognizant of where they are on the football field when they're in the middle of it here.
Joe Bugle, in his first year as the head coach of the Raiders, he was the head coach of the Cardinals earlier in this decade for 4 seasons. Forgettable ones, basically. Gerbach throws, and it's off the fingertips of Andre Rison, playing with his 6th team overall and his 5th team in 4 years, and a man who scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl for the Packers last year.
And if that ball's about 6 inches shorter, Frank, that might be a touchdown.
Terry McDaniel's playing right on his face, playing Raider kind of cornerback, and Andre Rison read that along with his quarterback, and Gerbach maybe just a little too eager early in the game, just a little too much on that. But you're right, Dan, that could have been 6 so quickly.
3rd and 11. A little more than 3 minutes into the game. On the baseball infield, Gerbach plants and throws, and it's incomplete, and some confusion. I think in terms of the pattern, Danon Hughes was, I guess, closest to it, but the pass was a good 7 or 8 yards from him, and the sun may have played a part in that one as well.
Well, I could have, but I mean, there was no receiver even within the area. That was a foul up by the 2 receivers.
I think Andre Rison
is doing the fly, and I think he probably should have broken that off to the outside.
Gerbach threw a sideline pattern, and Rison ran a streak.
That doesn't work.
Confusion was somewhere there between the 2 of them. One of them misread the defense.
Well, the sun not a factor really, but the sun sets on this drive as the punt by Aguilar will be fielded at the 19 by Desmond Howard, and the Super Bowl MVP gets knocked down at the 19 by Bobby Houston. Mike Stock very happy about that, the special teams coach. 36-yard kick and no run back, and Oakland will get the ball early in the first. Jeff George, the quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, 5-year deal. He signed in the offseason, 8th year in the league overall, #1 pick. After starting his career at Purdue and finishing it at Illinois, he has Kaufman and Davison in the backfield. Davison is the blocking back. Jed and Brown, the wideouts, and Ricky Dudley, the tight end, in his 2nd season. Harlow, Wisniewski is one of the best. Robbins, Lester Holmes, the ex-Eagle, and Lincoln Kennedy are the guys up front. And the sun going down in the Bay Area. Beautiful shot from above the Coliseum, looking west out towards San Francisco Bay and the city of San Francisco. Well in the background as the Raiders take over at their own 19-yard line.
And of course, Jeff George, a player that was courted by the Kansas City Chiefs. They ended up signing Elvis Gerbach, but the Kansas City Chiefs made a real run at Jeff George. Derek Thomas, their talented linebacker, spent a lot of time with him. All came down to how much upfront money Chiefs weren't willing to pay.
George on first down throws to Brown, and he gets taken down after a gain of 5. The tackle is made by Anthony Davis. The Chiefs defensively, now Derek Thomas will play but won't start. Booker, Phillips, and Browning, the 3-man front. Pella McDaniels at least at the start with Wooden, Edwards, and Anthony Davis, though we will see a lot of Derek Thomas, who's been hurt.
And we're going to see him right now, Al. He just trotted out.
In the game, and the secondary is a good one. Carter's been to the Pro Bowl. Hasty's tough. Tongue and Woods, 2 good young second-year safeties, and there is Derek Thomas wearing an encasement around his triceps on his arm because he missed all of the preseason. 2nd down and 5, and Huffman. Napoleon gets knocked down at the 30-yard line. He averaged almost 6 yards a carry last season, but a tough start for him last week, and he had to come out of the game at halftime with cramps and dehydration.
And ineffective up to the point in time where he had to come out of the ball game. Ran the ball a dozen times, only got 32 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry, but one of the most explosive backs in the game, Frank. He epitomizes what a burst really is.
Well, he has great speed, a great high school star, a sprint star here in California, and he has amazing speed and ability to cut. He's electric, and you put him with Jeff George, and Now Tim Brown in that combination. What an offense they've got.
And I think he went in motion, and Jeff George wasn't expecting him to.
Nobody left in the backfield, and thus Oakland has to burn an early timeout a little less than 5 minutes into the game. No score in Oakland.
Play the game with intensity. Watch Tim Brown and Dale Carter, both Pro Bowlers, go at each other. Watch Brown, though, go to cut Carter. Keep in mind, Carter last year did that to Lionel Washington when he played for Denver, put Lionel out for most of the year. Tim Brown, Dale Carter go head-to-head to get this game underway. Look for a lot more of that.
The Raiders, after burning a timeout, have first down now from the 30-yard line. George protected well, dumps it off over the middle. That's Jerome Davison, who has won the starting fullback spot, tackled by Anthony Davis. Davison, first-year guy from Arizona State, and he's won the starting job.
And Jeff George comes out throwing the football as well. You should. And as you look at Ray Perkins, the offensive coordinator, he did such a terrific job with Drew Bledsoe up in New England, and now working with Jeff George. Jeff George has a great ability to read, though. He's played on teams that have been in trouble for most of his career. Atlanta, he did not get a whole lot of protection. He reads the defense really well and releases the ball maybe better than any quarterback has ever done it.
Second down and inches. Nice cutback by Kaufman. Picks up the first down. 5-yard carry out to the 44. Tackled by Jerome Woods. Davison with the block. And next Monday we will head to Dallas. Good battle coming up. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off their victory yesterday against Green Bay, 10-9, eking one out against the shocked Cowboys, who had one in hand last night in Tempe, Arizona. And the next thing you know, the Cardinals win in overtime. Each team 1-1. We go to Big D for Philadelphia and Dallas next Monday night.
Boy, did Ray Rhodes get that team up after that opening day loss to the Giants. Big step towards Coach of the Year.
First down from the 44. Harvey Williams, now a tight end, was the man in motion, and Jeff George flings it and it's caught by Brown. And Tim Brown with a big gain to the 30-yard line of Kansas City.
Well, there is one of the ways that the Raiders are going back to their old passing game. Harvey Williams stayed in for protection. Passing game starts with protecting the quarterback, and Jeff George had all sorts of time to survey the field. Tim Brown had all sorts of time to do an out and then up. And Frank, this was a 6-second pass.
And he caught him. It was a good read. He caught him working against the safety, Reggie Tongue. They had help underneath, but it wasn't enough. With the accuracy of a Jeff George, you cannot cover a receiver this way. You're going to have to put your cover men on him, not a safety.
George is 3 for his first 3, trying to stay perfect, and does, and it's caught by Ricky Dudley, who makes a nice catch along the sidelines at the 16. Second-year tight end out of Ohio State, who last year had his moments, but he also had some terrible moments. He dropped a lot of balls.
Well, if you don't get better pressure than that on Jeff George, and you don't cover better than that, you're going to have lights out tonight. This is like ducks in the gallery for him. No one even near Ricky Dudley.
Well, Dudley is a weapon that is just starting to evolve. Remember all the problems that he had last year as a rookie with all sorts of drops. He had like 11 drops in one 3-game span. He's a weapon that is really starting to come to the forefront.
George, again, good protection, has time, and has to throw it out of the end zone. So the secondary does its job, but so did the offensive line.
He had plenty of time, but there was good coverage in the shortened field. They're basically inside the 15-yard line.
Basically a 3-man pattern, though. Again, they're starting their passing scheme, at least here in the early going, around protecting Jeff George. Tim Brown, number 81, and there again we see the footing on the far side of the field betray one of the Raider receivers. Tim Brown goes down. Remember, it was a defensive back before. Terry McDaniel that slipped.
8th play of the drive, 2nd and 10 from the 15-yard line, and they run a draw play, and Kaufman has some room, slips out of a tackle at the line of scrimmage, gets to the 10-yard line. Stopped there by Jerome Woods, so he's at the 10. It'll be 3rd down and 5.
Jerome Woods, one of those 4 draft picks from a year ago, 1, 2, 3, and 4, starting on defense for Gunther Cunningham. They have made some changes defensively and offensively here in Kansas City, and Jerome Woods is one of them. He's a big hitter back there. He was their 1st-round pick a year ago.
And that was a biggie, Frank. That was quite a tattoo.
3rd and 5. It's the first time the Raiders have had a third down play on this drive, which began at the 19-yard line. Kaufman turns the corner, has the first down.
Harvey Williams came in and got just enough of a hit on Derek Thomas. And I thought it wasn't enough of a block at the time, but Kaufman with that unbelievable quickness and burst to the outside, Frank, even without awesome blocking, still scored a touchdown. Well, it wasn't much of a block, you're right. I think Derek Thomas just underestimated the burst that you mentioned of Napoleon Kaufman, and there are few backs in this game that have that burst. He just pulled away from Thomas and then broke it back to the inside touchdown. Pat Harlow, number 77, was downfield throwing a block. But boy, credit a lot of that to the individual skills of Napoleon Kaufman.
Cole Ford for the extra point. Nice move by Araguz. He lost control of the ball for the moment, but was able to re-spot it, and the kick is good. So Napoleon, a non-factor last week in Memphis, is a big factor tonight on the first drive as the Raiders go 81 yards to lead Kansas City 7-0. Well, the man on the right is pretty happy, Ray Perkins, and the guy on the left, Gunther Cunningham, will have to do some mulling as he's watched his defensive unit just yield an 81-yard drive. Marcus Allen, a backup player right now, a role player, standing along the sideline. Again, Ford's kick is into the end zone. This yard 4 yards deep. Tamarik Vanover brings it back out to the 25-yard line. And here comes Gerback and the Chiefs with 6:34 to go in the opening quarter. 7-0, Oakland. National telecast noon Eastern, and then regional action. Notre Dame against Purdue, UCLA versus Texas, Maryland against Florida State, all coming your way this weekend, this Saturday on ABC. From the 25-yard line, Brett Perriman was the man in motion. One of the new Chiefs as Greg Hill picks up 3 to the 28-yard line. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Sprint, where Monday nights are free and clear. Plymouth, one clever idea after another. That's Plymouth. Miller Lite, now the official beer sponsor of the NFL, and Southwest Airlines, with fares so low you have the freedom to fly.
With Andre Rison in there and Brett Perriman. The Chiefs have 2 receivers who have over 1,000 yards, 1,000 receptions between them.
Now a 4-wide out set on 2nd down and 7, and with it spread out, they give it to Kimball Anders, who's off to the races with a big first down and a lot more, and finally run out at the Raider 29-yard line. It's a play they ran a couple of times without that much success clearly last week against Denver. Spread them out, give it to Anders.
He's almost a forgotten Chief too, with the acquisition of Andre Rison and Brett Perriman. He has been the leading receiver for the Chiefs over the past 3 seasons. He can do it all, though. He can run the football. He's a good blocker, Pro Bowl player, and it was a good call. 4 wide receivers, you go with the draw, Dan.
And it ran right behind the strength of the Chiefs' offensive line. The middle of it, left guard Dave Zott, center Tim Grunhard, right guard Will Shields. These guys have been together for years, and boy, that was a nice job of blocking.
43-yard run, second longest of his career, as Greg Hill fights his way for a pickup of 3. Hill, number 1 draft choice out of Texas A&M 4 years ago. Bided his time. They thought he might ascend a little earlier, but a fellow by the name of Marcus Allen had other ideas.
Yeah, Greg Hill has worked hard, though. He knew that eventually he was going to take over Marcus Allen's spot. Marcus is okay about it. We talked to him before the game, no question about that. But where Greg Hill has really improved, he has worked off season in catching the football. And he had 7 receptions last week against Denver. He only had 3 all of last season. He can now catch the football.
On 2nd and 7, fake to Hill, end around, Andre Rison with a straight arm, but he's taken out of bounds at the 24-yard line by James Trapp, about 5 yards short of the first down.
It's kind of hard to outrun James Trapp. He represents a lot of speed, and from that safety position, he came up and held Rison to about a yard and a half.
3rd and 5.
Marty Schottenheimer and Reggie Tung going over things. Tung, the safety. Marty, a defensive coach throughout his career, and it would figure
His offense is out there, but he lets Paul Hackett pretty much run that, and he's concerned with his defense. 3rd down and 5. Good protection. Gerbach throws, and it's caught at the 14 by Ted Popson, and the ex-49er takes it to the 9. A man, Ted Popson, Marty Schottenheimer said, has been the biggest surprise in camp for me this fall.
Well, he's been a big help, too, working with the rookie Tony Gonzalez. Popson, who, with all the experience with the 49ers, a good receiver, pretty good blocker coming off the line of scrimmage, too, but he's been a big help for the rookie, Tony Gonzalez.
But the man for years in San Francisco was Brent Jones. Ted Popson really never got that much of a chance to shine. Schottenheimer's very impressed. Greg Hill on an inside give, bounces off the first tackler, but then is thrust back. Mike Morton makes sure he doesn't advance any further. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Greg Hill, you know who must look at Greg Hill out there on the field and wonder, it could have been me, is Harvey Williams. Harvey Williams was a #1 draft choice of the Chiefs 7 years ago and never really, in his mind, got the shot. He operated under the shadow of Marcus Allen, and now it's Greg Hill's opportunity, and Harvey's left to watch from the other side of the field. Now he's a tight end.
Yep, the #2 tight end for the Raiders. 2nd down and goal from the 11-yard line. Gerbach throws, it's caught at the 6-yard line. That's Andre Rison, who gets wrestled down. It'll be 3rd down and goal. Under 3 minutes to play in the first quarter. Oakland with an 81-yard drive leading 7-0.
Boy, Rison has kept his backpack, hasn't he? This is the 6th team he's played with in 9 years. That's moving around.
His best stop was in Atlanta, where he had 4 Pro Bowls and some really remarkable years, very productive.
A couple of them with Jeff George.
That's been kind of scattershot. 3rd down goal. Everybody out of the backfield, and it is broken up. Albert Lewis, the ex-Chief, the 37-year-old 15th-year cornerback with a wink, knocking it down from Brett Perryman.
Hey, and he can still do it there. He is NFL-wise. You don't fool Albert Lewis. You might beat him because he lost a step now and then, but he knew this was not going outside. He could look at the quarterback, and he read that beautifully, got the hand around in front, deflected the ball. A perfect play by Albert Lewis.
Pete Stoyanovich, this is a 23-yard attempt. Louis Aguiar to hold, Ralph Tan to snap it, and the kick is good. Chiefs bogged down at the end, but get 3 to close to within 4. So in Oakland on a beautiful early evening, 2:14 to go. First quarter, Oakland 7, KC 3. Marty Schottenheimer, the coach of the Chiefs since '89, and started his head coaching career with the Browns in '84, and he is the subject of tonight's The Home Depot Chalk Talk. Marty with a record of 14-5 against the Raiders in regular season play. No other coach has won more games against the Raiders than Marty, even though there are 5 coaches who have coached more games against the Oakland, Los Angeles, and now Oakland again Raiders. 14-5. And during this decade, 12-2 are the Chiefs against the Raiders. Pete Stoyanovich to kick off, and he kicks it in the direction of Tim Hall and away from Desmond Howard. And Tim Hall, who had a nice run back last week against the Oilers, brings it to the 27-yard line, where he's tackled by Greg Minuski. That is the Goodyear Blimp Eagle up from Carson, California, in Southern California, has made the trek north and providing the Scenics on a spectacular early evening in Oakland.
Most of the people have finally arrived with the strike they have held here in BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit. Well, you couldn't move here this morning.
And it had nothing to do with what happened last night either. First down from the 26-yard line. George had trouble with his snap momentarily, gives it to Kaufman, and that slow developing play develops into next to nothing as he's run out of bounds by Reggie Tongue. Darren Robbins, the center, you caught a glimpse of him, but when you think about centers and the Oakland Raiders, well, Jim Otto, you begin with him.
Well, I guess you would, and then Dave Dalby after
Absolutely.
that. Well, that was about it.
Well, Don Mosbar had a pretty good career there.
It lasted a few decades. Well, you're right, Don Mosbar.
Unfortunately, Don Mosbar's career was cut short because of the eye injury, and he had to stop playing when he still had a number of years left. But no other franchise in the league has had a history like that at the center position.
2nd and 10, and the pass in traffic is incomplete, intended for Ricky Dudley. Covering on the play was Terry Wooden. Dudley is a guy who hasn't played that much football. He played a lot of basketball at Ohio State. Pretty good blocker, but they got him to be a pass-catching tight end a la Todd Christensen. He's got to work on catching the football.
Todd Christensen is really what came to mind with Al Davis in thinking about moving Harvey Williams to tight end. He had a lot of success in the past in moving running backs to tight end. Billy Cannon before that. But what we just saw there has been Dudley's problem. Ball's right on his hands that he just can't hold on to.
You know, and you can't teach it.
3rd down and 10. They have Harvey Williams in motion. He'll operate out of the slot. Chiefs jump. We have the first penalty of the game. George throws, and that's brought in by Dudley. And Ricky Dudley with a big gain, still moving, finally tackled at the 34-yard line. The question is, was Anthony Davis induced, or is it offside Kansas City?
Well, they're all walking uphill, so I think the play is going to stand.
Gary Lane is the referee and checking with the line judge and rechecking now to make sure it wasn't a false start.
Now they're bringing it back.
The guy that was bouncing along towards Harvey Williams was in motion. I wonder if there's some question about whether Harvey was going forward or not at the snap.
I thought he'd gotten set in the slot. He was lined up outside.
I don't think he ever did.
Watch Harvey bouncing along. He can continue to move, but he can't go forward.
Offsides, defense, number 93. Illegal shift, number 82 on the offense. Penalties offset. Repeat 3rd down.
I think he might have got 22 and 82 confused.
Well, actually, James Jett, the receiver to the outside, had a little bit of a flinch too.
You're right, he did.
If both of them are moving at the same time, that's an illegality as well.
But Harvey Williams was moving towards the line of scrimmage, there's no question.
Obviously, Harvey thought the snap count was going to occur well before it did. All right, here's the big picture. This is Jett, the wide receiver, towards the bottom right of your screen. Watch it. You see that right there? He and Harvey are moving at the same time.
And Harvey is moving towards the line of scrimmage.
Either one you could call. The timing was well off there on the Raider offense.
And there went a 40-yard gain, and there goes another timeout. So after the Raiders commit their first penalty.
Ooh, and now Jeff George walks to the sidelines barking at somebody.
Well, he wants to get the play a little more quickly. He has to wait to break that huddle till he gets the play. That's what he was angry about.
I'm sorry, but when Jeff George goes to the sidelines yelling, it's a story. He's talking to Fred Biletnikoff there on the right of your screen.
Who calls the plays into him?
Well, they may have had 12 guys on the field. Kenny Shedd had come onto the field and he was running off as George called timeout. Ray Perkins has just watched his offensive unit burn 2 of the 3 timeouts in the first 14 minutes of the game.
Jeff is obviously perturbed about whether he didn't get it in time or whatnot.
Bill Musgrave, who was a quarterback in camp with the Denver Broncos when this summer began and is now an administrator here and working with the coaching staff.
And George had to call the timeout. They were down to 2 seconds on the play clock. And I don't think there's any question. He just got the play so late he couldn't get it called and get up to the line of scrimmage.
3rd down and 10. You've got Tim Brown, the man in motion now, setting up in the slot. Pressure this time, and George forced to roll, and down he goes at the 12-yard line on a corner blitz by James Hasty.
Well, now there's a reversal of fortunes. The long pass to Dudley canceled out by a penalty, and then a monster sack. And the Raiders have suffered quite a loss in field position. 14 yards on that sack.
Kansas City has gone almost the entire first quarter without the blitz. And this time they brought them all. They brought the corner blitz, they brought a safety, and Ray Perkins calling the play had put too many people in the pattern. There's no way they could handle this.
And James Hasty, who just makes a living of big plays against the Raiders, comes up with another one.
Araguz to punt it.
Good defensive call. Ooh, good one.
Line drive kick. Vanover, one of the best in the league from the 33. Goes to the short side of the field. Good run back. Gets into Oakland territory, and a little skirmish breaks out at the 40-yard line, and a skirmish on the sideline as well.
Raiders and Chiefs. Between Vanover for the Chiefs and Desmond Howard for the Raiders, we're in store for, I think, some exciting returns tonight, both in punt returns and kickoff returns. Two of the most exciting guys in the business. All right, there's clearly the worst job in football is one of those two wideouts on the punt team that gets double teamed and hammered all the way down the field. That's Mike Stock in the middle, the Chiefs special teams coach, and he's congratulating his guys. But why anybody would want to be that outside guy and get pummeled for 40 yards down the field, clip, push, shove.
Chiefs at the Raider 46. Greg Hill finds very little room, takes it to the 44. The second quarter will begin with a 2nd down and 8. As the first quarter winds down in Oakland. And at the end of the first quarter, it's the Oakland Raiders 7, the Kansas City Chiefs 3, and Monday Night Football returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Oakland at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Al Michaels with Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorff, and Lynn Swan. We start the second quarter. The Oakland Raiders lead the Kansas City Chiefs 7-3, and a 2nd down and 9 as Elvis Gerbach goes back to pass and throws the home run ball into double coverage, and it's knocked away by Terry McDaniel. Step for step with Andre Rison. Eric Turner also helping out on the play, and it'll make it 3rd down and 9.
A couple of pretty good defensive backs back there. Eric Turner, of course, picked up this year as a free agent. Great positioning by McDaniel, reading it all the way. He's getting help from the inside. He knew that Turner was going to help him on the inside. Good coverage. Andre Rison, though, he'll fight for a football. He's very physical. If you're going to throw into coverage, throw it to a guy like Andre Rison. He'll go for it.
3rd down and 9. Here comes the corner blitz. That's picked up. Gerbach escaping. And then finding everybody covered, and almost as it picked off, threw it in the direction of Perryman. And Eric Turner knocks it away. Anthony Smith was forcing the issue, chasing Gerbach. 4th down. Eddie Anderson, the safety, the long-time Raider safety, and surprisingly one of the inactives. He's not hurt. He was just put down for tonight's game.
I think they were thinking more in the line of coverage than they were in stopping the run. Eddie Anderson is a good run support safety man, but with Brett Perriman and Andre Rison, Perriman now healthy, and Lake Dawson, well, you better get the cover guys out there instead of the run stoppers. The reality of it is, though, guys, he's their 4th safety. It's his 12th year in the league. His career's winding down.
The Chiefs will take a delay of game penalty here because they're in a position where Aguiar can use some extra room, and we'll see if the Raiders decline it or accept it.
Yeah, which they're liable to decline it.
Well, if the kicking team wants it, the receiving team should definitely decline it, but you never know. Rusty Tillman is the special teams coach.
Just to be obstinate.
Yes.
This is kind of marginal, though. If you want it, I don't want you to have
it. The delay of game is declined. 4th down.
I don't think there's any question of that. Nobody in a red shirt or a red helmet gets anything they want here without it being contested by somebody in black.
Louis Aguiar, this is the 481st punt of his career. He has never had one block. Still hasn't. Bounces at the 11 and skips into the end zone. So 45 gross, but only 25 net. Mike Stock not happy about that. So much for that pooch punt. 7-3 Oakland. They have it at the 20. And of course, Monday Night Football every week. Next Monday, we will be in Dallas. We've got the Cowboys and the Eagles next Monday night. Oakland at the 20-yard line, 1st down. And this is Kaufman up to the 22, a gain of 2. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Coors Light, proud partner of the John Wayne Cancer Institute and their search for a cure. Ford F-150, strength after strength after strength. Highlight, Fox setting in. Pull back over the
East Bay and Oakland, 2nd down and 8 from the 22, and Kaufman nearly got knocked down in the backfield and turns a loss into a next to no gain. Derek Thomas pops him. Vaughn Booker almost had him.
That's Thomas coming from the opposite side of the field, and he had a head of steam too. He unloaded on Kaufman.
It's Pella McDaniels there. Ironically, they're working on his arm, and he's the guy taking Derek Thomas's place from time to time tonight. And Derek's problem has been the triceps. Of course, that's a lot higher than the triceps area, but still there is Thomas wearing that big and bulky, what appears to be a cast, but it's really soft. He says it doesn't bother him at all.
Happened way back where? In early August, late July?
Yeah, late July.
This has been a big week, though, for Derek Thomas. He has made a noticeable improvement. So say the Chiefs.
Good protection, but the secondary does its job, and George goes down to a knee at the 24-yard line. Well short of the first down, and Oakland will be forced to punt.
And that is not Jeff George's long suit.
Since that long pass to Dudley that got called back, the Raiders have just run off 5 consecutive pretty
clinkers.
Yeah, we'll call them clinkers, clunkers, whatever you want to call them. Very ineffective offensive plays.
Here's a threat.
Vanover, 2 years ago, Vanover won a Monday night game, you might recall, against San Diego in overtime with a punt return for a touchdown.
Much to the delight of that Arrowhead crowd.
Leo Araguz to punt.
Out of time.
Well, whistle before the snap.
Now this is one, if that's the delay of game, the Chiefs will accept this one.
And there's 0 on the play clock.
Delay. Offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Well, let's make it 6 plays in a row now that the Raiders have not exactly been artistic.
Well, that was a great punt by Araguz too. A wasted one, but a great one.
Raiders have led the league in penalties for 4 years in a row, but that's the first accepted. You had the offsetting play before. And this is the first time they're truly set back because of it. 4th down and 11. And a wobbly kick after he'd gotten off a beauty that didn't count. This is a clunker that turns out to be actually not quite a work of art, but a heck of a lot better than when it started. About 20 yards on the ground.
Oh, and now another flag.
That flag is down. That one was about 32 yards in the air and 20 in the baseball infield. Stop the band. We did. Lorenzo Lynch is arguing with one of the officials.
Can a band member hurt himself when he has to stop playing, abruptly like that?
The harmonica player has a big problem.
Yeah, you could. Could you like throw your Adam's apple out of joint or something?
You could.
Not our guys. Illegal man downfield against the Raiders. How could that flag be thrown clear at the back? Clear at the end?
It almost didn't even require anybody to touch it at the end of the play.
No, it didn't require anybody.
And so a 52-yard punt.
A bad break for the Raiders is what that is.
So they're back at the 14-yard line. It's 4th down and 16. And it's a high kick, good distance. Vanover to 36, escapes the first man. Another flag is down back at the line of scrimmage. Tackle is made at the 41. So after an entirely close to penalty-free first period, very close to one, here in the second quarter, nothing but flags.
Well, I thought there was an illegal block by Kansas City right in front of the Raiders bench. It didn't get called.
Now you've got another penalty going up against Oakland. Face mask. Lorenzo Lynch.
Personal foul after the kick. Number 43 of the
and a left hook.
15-yard penalty.
Oh, that hurts. After the kick,
he had the face mask of Tony Gonzalez.
Kansas City will get great field position.
They get the ball when we come back. 7-3 Oakland. Here, and allowing Kansas City to start this drive at the Oakland 44-yard line.
The 3 consecutive punts where something went wrong on each one of them. And the net result is his defensive team has to go out on the football field with Kansas City being a little less than 45 yards from the end zone. The problems that have plagued the Raiders in the past that Joe Bugel has pledged that he's going to correct, all of a sudden here in game number 2, it's early going, are huge Raider problems.
For the moment, the play clocks are not working. Both teams have been informed of that. First down at the 44-yard line for Kansas City. Gerbach throws, and it is caught by Kimball Anders, a minimal gain to the 42-yard line. Greg Hill, their feature back, last week carried the ball only 7 times, and that was a source of consternation for Kansas City fans because in 7 carries last week, he picked up 92 yards against Denver. Tonight he's carried the ball 7 times for 9 yards. A little different.
Yeah, his average is down just a touch. Double tight end now for Kansas City. The rookie Tony Gonzalez in and splits.
2nd and 9. Here's Hill. Picks up a couple, takes it just inside the 40-yard line, setting up a 3rd and about 6. Chester McLaughlin right there. Last year, the Chiefs did not score a touchdown in their final game at Buffalo, and if they had won that game, they would have gone to the playoffs. And this year, right now, they are the only team in the league without a touchdown. And they've got, they've been noted for their offense. They ended last season by losing their last 3 games and 1 loss here in '97. And Marcus Allen is in the backfield on 3rd down and 6. He goes into a pattern. He gets the ball, and Marcus against the Raiders, which is always a treat. First down to the 25-yard line. Tackled by Mike Morton.
The old graybeard comes off the bench, gets the first down, points over to Greg Hill.
He said, I feel like a pinch hitter. I feel like a top relief pitcher.
Well, what do you think Mike Morton feels like? He's locked up one-on-one with Marcus. He overcommits to the outside. Boy, that nifty little shoulder shake and move to the sideline by Marcus Allen really juked Morton and opened it up to the inside.
From the 25-yard line, Hill cuts it back. Inside the 15, the 10 to the 6-yard line goes Greg Hill. Morton and Trapp make the tackle.
Greg Hill up over 210 now in size, and Marcus Allen, again, he is happy to live with this. He is in his 16th year as a running back. That's just kind of unbelievable. But here comes Greg Hill, the man who has taken over the starting position. They get along fine with this situation.
And now you're getting down into Marcus territory, though he's not in at the moment. Hill cuts it back, takes it just inside the 5. Tackled by Greg Biekert. 2nd down and goal.
Well, it is Marcus territory too, Al, in the sense that we mentioned the fact that Andre Rison has over 500 receptions, Perriman over 500. Well, Marcus Allen has over 500 receptions himself, and that graphic itself is that's an NFL record, 112 rushing touchdowns,
which will be exceeded very shortly by Emmitt Smith, who's closing in on it. But nonetheless, Marcus with a Hall of Fame career, obviously. 2nd down, goal, 5-yard line. The fake, Gerbach on a roll, throws, Anders catches it, touchdown Kansas City. Kimball Anders.
Good play action to Kimball Anders, and it just held the safety, and Anders kind of eased into the flat, wide open as everybody bought the play action. Good play action by Gerbach. Well, the Chiefs run 2 receivers into the middle, creating a lot of confusion in the Raiders secondary. Nobody breaks out of the pile to run with Kimball Anders as he comes back to the outside. That's just poor play in the secondary of the Raiders. You don't lose track of a guy who caught 60 passes last year.
Pete Stoyanovich for the point after, and now every team in the National Football League has scored at least 1 touchdown in 1997. Don't expect much response, Kimball. Fans sitting on their hands right now. Tonight, as are we, as you take a look at the blimp. Sun going down over San Francisco Bay, and in the East Bay right now, we have just seen the Kansas City Chiefs take the lead for the first time in the game by a score of 10-7.
I guess everybody has their favorites, but can there be a more photogenic city than this San Francisco, Oakland area?
Not out around the world as far as I'm concerned. Stoyanovich kicks it into the end zone. It's taken there by Desmond Howard. And the one-time Heisman winner from Michigan up to the 26. Well, Jens, you know, it's early in the season, and you never want to overemphasize an early season game. But when you're playing in the AFC West, and you've got the Denver Broncos to chase, and they're already 2-0, this game takes on a little bit more early season importance for each team tonight.
I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, Denver is obviously everything that we thought they'd be before the start of the season, and one of these two teams is going to be 2 behind Denver. That's not good.
Yeah, the winner will breathe easier, although as we know, the loser is not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. What is it? Every year, some 0-2 team has ultimately ended up making it to the playoffs. So it's not panic time, but one of these guys is going to be a whole lot better off than the other.
Here's Kaufman. And the thing you don't want to do is if you build yourself enough of a hole as you look at McLaughlin, then clearly you do have a chance to get to the playoffs, but then you're thinking about that wild card again and no home field and all the things you don't want to think about.
Well, and at 0-2, all of a sudden things start creeping into your head. There's a confidence problem. There are questions about, well, maybe we're not as good as we'd hoped we were during the course of training camp. Those kind of negative thoughts, Frank, can kill a team.
They can. I think back at Marty Schottenheimer, who just said, I won't go through a season like I went through last year. And he's changed things dramatically here for Kansas City. They're going to have to come together. They have a come-together period that you're going to have to get them through.
That's Joe Aska carrying the ball for the first time tonight as Kaufman comes out and Donnie Edwards makes the stop and comes up a little shaken. Joe Aska, who wears that shield because in a childhood accident at the age of 6, he was blinded in a childhood accident with some hammers and rocks.
Well, Gunther Cunningham that time comes with a run blitz. Watch the linebackers. They crisscross. They fill the middle, and that is on second down. That's a run blitz and a very effective one at that.
3rd down and 8. Tim Brown shadowed by Carter, bottom of the screen. George gets protection, lofts one deep, and somehow, some way, James Jett makes the catch through the arms of Mark McMillan. But now, one official said yes, but I think he's going to get overruled, and he is. It appeared the official on the scene initially said good, and then the other official with a better view said no.
Well, the official on the scene was looking to see if the ball was caught, and he was the one that was overruled. It was Jett against McMillan. McMillan, the little man, 5'7", but a good man-to-man defender.
What a
right
throw.
There, right where he should be. Gets the hands up, and this is a great catch.
1-2. If he has control, it's a bad call.
Yeah, what we couldn't tell from that angle was control.
And the kick by Araguz is fielded by Vanover at the 29. Kenny Shedd can't knock him down, but at least he can stop him. And the tackle is made.
Is there a fumble? The Raiders move it.
And the Raiders picked up the football.
Kenny Shedd must have knocked that ball loose. But he launched himself into Vanover.
He's taking it home, too. I think you're right, Dan. He certainly came up with it. Now they just happened to bobble over to Kenny Shedd. Big break for the Raiders now.
All right, here's Shedd. He throws himself into Vanover. Vanover still has the ball. Then he gets caught in a scissors by about 4 different Raiders. It squirts right back to Shedd.
I think Tim Hall is the guy who may have extracted the football. 45 coming in after the Shedd contact. The ball is at the 34-yard line as the Raiders try to cash in on this break. Fake draw, deep drop, slings it and knocked away at the 11-yard line by Jerome Woods.
Big play by Woods. Wide open was James Jett.
Well, if anything is reminiscent of the old Raiders and watching Darryl LaMonica, number 3, it's after a big play on a first down, dropping back into the pocket and trying to go for the home run. This is reminiscent of the way the Raiders used to play football.
Well, was the Raiders' trademark. Kenny Stabler, Darryl LaMonica, who also wore that number 3, the same number 3 that Jeff George is wearing. You're right, Dan.
If Woods doesn't get a hand on that football, that's 6.
We get a turnover and try and get 6.
Blitz, 2nd and 10. Great protection up front, but the pass is high. It's batted in the air and incomplete at the 11-yard line. She said the blitz on, everybody was coming, and the Raiders did the job up front. Brown was the intended receiver.
Ooh, and Jeff knows he should have had that one. When you get the blitz, you pick up the blitz, you know you have single coverage on your outside man. That outside man was Tim Brown, sure-handed Tim Brown. And George had a little too much on it, a little too high. Look at this great protection now. Here comes Brown, he's wide open. Puts it up too high and too hot.
And Tim Brown, after that remarkable week last week with the 8 receptions and the 3 touchdowns, not a factor in this game so far. Although, he didn't even have a catch at halftime last week, did he?
No. And then 3 touchdown grabs in the second half, and they're moving forward again, so we have flags.
He's a factor now.
Yeah, here's Harvey Williams making the catch, but it was Brown who was moving forward. Penalty against Oakland.
Brown in motion, and he knew it.
Yep.
Well, now this will be very interesting because they did not get a first down.
Well, they'll take it, Dan. They'll back him out of 4th field goal position anyway.
Well, except you give him another chance.
Defense, number 58.
Penalty. Repeat 3rd down. They did not call this on Tim Brown. There's no question he was in motion.
Well, they're calling offsetting. They've got to call offsetting penalties. Tim Brown was going forward at the snap of the football. They called offsides on. They called Tim Brown for the Raiders.
They're just walking off a penalty against the Chiefs. They did not call Tim Brown.
Well, that's impossible to miss. Nobody could miss that.
They did.
They missed it.
Oh. Can't believe Marty didn't go ballistic.
Makes it 3rd down and 5 at the 29-yard line. George, who'd been hot at the start, is now 4 of 9 and a draw play. Anybody as Kaufman gets tackled by Thomas. Crowd boos. Cole Ford is ready to perhaps come on for a field goal. And that loss is significant because it makes it a 50-yard attempt.
Well, Cole Ford's career best is 47 yards, so we're going to see the punter.
He's not coming out. It's going to be Araguz.
33. And the worst part is it would have been off the dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sure that weighs in the decision. You can see from behind that at the 40-yard line, the placement would have been in the infield.
That draw play drew them out of field goal range. He tries to pooch punt it and does, and can the Raiders recover it before it crosses the goal line?
Oh, they did.
Yep. No.
I was going to say, it looked like the ball was touched by one of the Raiders who had his feet in the end zone.
Right. And so the rest of the play was irrelevant.
That's Orlando Truitt right there.
Rusty Tillman, the special teams coach, and Mike Stock, his opposite number.
Eric Goose did his job. He put it down on about the 4-yard line.
Take a look here. Not right here, but right here. The ball's going to be kept in the ball. First of all, hit in the end zone there.
Yeah.
So that's the end of it right there.
Out to the 20 it comes, 5:14 to the half. Still a 3-point lead for KC. Click away, check it out. ABCMNF.com is the address. From the 20-yard line, Greg Hill for the Kansas City Chiefs. Angles his way for a 4-yard gain. He's run out by Beekert and Trapp. Across the bay, the San Francisco, and you can see the Transamerica Tower. That's the pyramid, and it's a little too foggy for the Golden Gate Bridge, obscured right now. 2nd down and 7 from the 23-yard line as Marcus Allen takes it to the 25, and he's tackled there by Greg Beekert. Marcus saying that this is going to be his final year. His book has just come out, good autobiography, co-authored by Carlton Stowers. Good reading for a sports book called Marcus.
I haven't read it yet, but I looked through it today and just skimmed through it. Some good pictures.
Good, yes.
Good start, Frank. And I looked at the back of the book for my name, so that was it.
3rd down and 5 from the 25-yard line. And Gerbach runs out of room. Nobody open. Chased by Kevin Johnson, incomplete. 4th down. But Marcus, everybody knows the story, starting with the Raiders and then the very acrimonious end of that relationship. And it's very clear. He said, I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame if he goes in. And he says if I go in, and we know he will, obviously, as a Kansas City Chief.
If he doesn't, they'll close it down.
Yes.
Well, he's number 6 on the rushing list. He's chasing Franco Harris, who's the next guy in line. He's about 450-some yards behind Franco.
Louis Aguiar to bunt, end-over-end kick that bounces at about where a third baseman would play. And takes a good hop for Kansas City all the way inside the 15 to the 10. A 65-yard punt by Aguiar.
Got a big jump off that infield. It took a terrific bounce.
When you get a net 65, that's quite a change in field position. The defensive line of the Raiders, of course, they're bolstered by the addition of the number 2 selection in this year's draft, Darrell Russell, chosen right after Orlando Pace, and he'll be seeing a lot of playing time tonight from Southern Cal, all 6'5", 310 of him. So it's Darrell Russell right there on the sidelines. This guy is going to be a superb football player for a long time to come.
And he's going to be able to afford it.
And what a rotation they have with Russell McLaughlin and Russell Maryland, those 3 defensive tackles.
From the 10.
Hello. I'm Derek Thomas, and you're down.
Welcome. You've got mail.
You've got mail.
You've got nailed. Derek Thomas, a Pro Bowler in every year of his NFL career. There's the quarterback comparison. Jeff George started hot, but he's been cooled off. 0 for his last 5 after he was 4 for 4, and Jeff throws, and it's caught up at the 19 by Tim Brown. Very close to a first down.
Oh, that's what you love about Jeff George's arm. He was about to be sacked for a safety, and he just threw totally off balance, but with such accuracy and such velocity. Talked to Tom Flores before the game, a former Raider quarterback. Look at this. He just flipped this off balance, about to get hit. But Flores says he agrees with me. He's never seen an arm like this. He says, technically right now, Troy Aikman is the best he has ever seen in this game. And it was interesting to talk to Flores. Flores, a former head coach and a quarterback himself, but he really agrees that there is no arm around like Jeff George.
Oh, and the one word you always hear when you talk about Troy Aikman is accuracy, his pinpoint accuracy.
And the mechanics is so good.
He steps into it. He's a classic thrower. Jeff George, there's really nothing classic about his delivery, and in many ways it's kind of, his footwork is somewhat awkward. But the skill of that arm and the ability to deliver the football is at times staggering.
First and 10. As he goes, and it's incomplete, and a flag is down at the 30-yard line, about 10 yards upfield. So obviously some contact taking place.
Well, I don't think that was on Hasty, who was the cover man on Brown.
You've got a hole and an automatic first down against Kansas City.
Get a number.
Penalty, defense, number 40.
Well, they did.
5-yard penalty, first down.
Looked like pretty good coverage, and Hasty's not complaining about it. He was man for man on Tim Brown. That's a tough assignment. Here he is. He lines up 3 or 4 yards off. Yeah, he grabbed him by the jersey. We've seen a lot worse, but there's no question he did have a hold of the jersey.
Penalties, Oakland 3 for 25, KC a deuce for 10. First down from the 25-yard line. George slings it incomplete, intended for Orlando Truitt.
Somebody tell Orlando there's a game going on here.
Yes.
I don't know if he thought that there's no way he was going to get thrown the football, but this is fairly nonchalant.
Well, he might have had his eye on number 50. Don't you think that might have got your attention? Because number 50, Anthony Davis, would have put him in the seats.
Well,
I know, I get your point.
Kind of part of the game, Frank.
I'm being kind.
I know you are.
Second and 10. 2:45 left in the half. George throws. That's caught, and forward progress should be a first down. Caught by Brown, who was across the 35 to the 36-yard line. That should move the sticks.
Of course, with the unfortunate injury to Jerry Rice, the Bay area now belongs to Tim Brown when it comes to catching the football, and he'll carry that mantle pretty well.
I got fourth catch of the night.
He caught 8 last week and caught them all in the second half. 3 for touchdowns, and just Tim Brown just kept the Raiders in that game last week.
Of them on that first drive.
Right. Sounded like somebody turned the switch.
Yeah. The Kansas City defense.
Well, they've been doing some of it to themselves too with penalties.
First down at the 35. George throws, and it's caught at the 45 by Brown, and Timmy takes it to the 41-yard line. Tackled by Jerome Woods. 24-yard pickup, and we come to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes in the first half remaining in Oakland, where Kansas City leads 10-7. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Each team coming in off an opening day loss. But like a typical Kansas City-Oakland battle, tight. 10-7 is the score. Chiefs leading by 3. Marcus Allen looking on as his defense tries to stiffen. First down, Oakland at the 42-yard line of the Chiefs.
And George has found Timmy Brown here in the closing minutes of the first half, and I'd stay with him.
Pressure, avoids it. Intended for Jet, but covered by McMillan.
That little move in the pocket on the part of Jeff George. You're not going to see him run the ball very well, and he doesn't want to run the football, but he slides around in the pocket pretty well. He's had to over his past few years, particularly with Atlanta, and before that Indianapolis. He learned to get rid of the football quickly in the run and shoot offense of June Jones down in Atlanta. A good offense by a good coach. It's hard to imagine these two had problems, because it's hard to imagine anyone have a problem with June Jones. Classy guy, good football coach. I'm sure he'll be back in this game.
Second down and 10 at the 41-yard line. And that is caught by Tim Brown. In fact, when you talk to Jeff George a little bit about that, Frank, you get the feeling that that ruling may have come down, the suspension from up top, i.e. Rankin Smith in Atlanta, as opposed to June Jones. Of course, that's Jeff's version. There could be a little revisionist history there, but he looks at it a different way. Third down and 2. Hoffman takes it inside the 30, inside the 20, and Napoleon is out of bounds at the 16-yard line. Ray Perkins happy about that call. Gunther Cunningham not very happy.
Well, that was really a well-blocked play up front by the Raiders' offensive line. They're making some good blocks at the point of attack for a line that was really ineffective last week, only 45 yards rushing. Take a look at this thing. There's Lincoln Kennedy out front. Lester Holmes comes in with a block. Pat Harlow's in the play as well.
Got a good move by Coffin to get out of bounds, stop the clock. They only have 1 timeout remaining. Coffin did not take it inside. That could have cost him.
18-yard pickup. Joe Aska's in the game at running back. A sidearm sling is incomplete and knocked down by James Hasty, the corner.
Well, in the last 5 plays, that's about the 3rd blitz off the corner that Gunther Cunningham and the Chiefs have run. He has obviously made the decision that he has got to try some different things to put pressure on Jeff George. A 4-man rush is not getting through the Raider offensive line, and Cunningham, the man you're looking at now, is having to take some chances. And as we all know, chances can end up in touchdowns.
That first drive of 81 yards, they did nothing, and George cut them up. When they came at the blitz, and they shut him down.
Second and 10. They come from the corners. George steps away. Steps out of bounds. Again, conserving that sole timeout, out of bounds at the 13-yard line, but now they're looking at a third down in a conversion situation, third and about 8.
Well, there's where he rushed 4, kept 7 back in coverage, and it paid off. Even though the 4 didn't get a great pass rush on Jeff George, the 7 back in coverage blanketed all the Raider receivers.
Of course, down inside the 15, when you have those guys dropping into coverage, they can play much tighter. They don't have to be concerned with anything deep. And they can play in the end zone in front of the receivers. Big game of strategy.
Third and 8 from the 13. Corner, incomplete, looking for a flag, nothing. Dale Carter covering, Olanda Truitt, the intended receiver.
Truitt looking for a flag.
No, Dale Carter whipped around in a hurry too. Didn't he look like a guy that was looking for one as well?
Well, they had a little bump. He had a hand in there.
A hand early.
And
Truitt is right to complain. Carter was right to look around for a flag because there could have been one thrown.
Cole Ford to attempt a 32-yard field goal. And he boots it through to tie it up. 32-yarder by Cole Ford comes with 1:03 remaining in the opening half. And Oakland and Kansas City tied at 10-10.
There's a good look at Steve Wisniewski, the 6-time Pro Bowler at left guard. This guy is as good a guard as there is in the National Football League. He gets a lot of people excited, wins all the polls for the dirtiest player in the league and whatnot.
Pays a few fines along the road.
Yep. Yeah, he had a big year last year. But the guy can flat out play. I don't think there's a football team in the NFL that wouldn't love to have him playing offensive line for you.
Boy, for a Chiefs-Raiders game, this is almost a gentlemanly contest.
Wiz from Penn State. Conrad Dobler would be so proud.
Back up, quarterback for the Raiders, David Klingler. And here comes Mark Vanover on the return, and he's returned in 3 years, 3 for touchdowns.
Vanover backs up, and he'll come out from 4 yards deep. Flag is thrown, a couple, one from each direction, up at the 29-yard line.
That's a smart play by Vanover to come out of the end zone. He really has nothing to lose. Why just take the touchback and start at the 20-yard line? Maybe you get the big return. The Raiders have used so many of their timeouts that even if the Chiefs don't get a first down, I still don't think the Raiders...
On the return team, number 23, 10-yard penalty, first down.
How many timeouts do the Raiders have left?
One.
Just one.
Well, the Chiefs and the Raiders go back to the 1969 AFL Championship game on this field. The significance of this game is you watch Emmett Thomas intercept the pass, the current defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. This was the final game in the history of the American Football League, and Kansas City won it, went on to win the Super Bowl, and the leagues merged the following year. Final game ever for the AFL. As the pass is caught by Andre Rison, and Rison is taken down by the baseball infield at the 50-yard line.
He's tough. He's a clutch receiver. He'll go up and battle for the football. He doesn't have a lot of speed, as you saw right there, but he will come down with the ball.
41-yard gain.
Good little move to the inside.
I think that the infield, more than anything else, was what stopped him here.
Oh, he was going to get caught from behind. It almost looked like Andre went down on purpose. It almost looked like he just gave it up and went down.
Well, he put a move on Larry Brown, who's really struggling here since he came from Dallas as a Raider.
Let's watch this. Andre just went down. He didn't trip or anything else. He saw that he was going to be tackled, and Looks to me like he looks right there.
Live to fight another day.
He protected the football and gave it up and went down.
I think that was his concern.
Yep.
He had Raiders coming from either side, said, I'm going to cover up this football.
You mentioned Larry Brown, Frank. You're right. Every team in the league is going to go at this guy every chance they get.
And they got him all alone in the corner, too.
1st and 10 from the 47. Here comes Marcus. Taken down by Eric Turner, one of the new Raiders at the 41. Turner, the longtime Cleveland Brown / Baltimore Raven. No huddle here. KC with 2 timeouts remaining. 2nd and 4 from the 41. Gerbach throws, and that's caught at the 31-yard line by Brett Perriman, and that is a first down. And Kansas City takes a timeout that is actually that's their final charge timeout. The board had them with 2. But it was really 1, and Stoyanovich loosens up for what may be a long field goal attempt, and McLaughlin
enough time to run just about any play in their bank.
Well, I can't see they would not send Rison against Larry Brown. Larry Brown is struggling.
3 wide receivers up there at the top.
And Gerbach comes the other way and hits the open man. It's Rison at the 12-yard line.
And he beat Larry Brown.
Andre Rison.
There's no secrets in this game. And until Larry Brown starts making some big plays for the Raiders, he's a marked man.
Well, he's healthy. He had a damaged foot a year ago, and there's no question it was a bad foot. But he has just not come back from it. And, of course, when he was at Dallas, they didn't play that much man for man. The Raiders play a lot of it.
And he comes out of the lineup right now. At the 12-yard line, first down. Gerbach roll, and the pass is caught by Rison, but this time just a short little pass. The flag is down, and he's out of bounds.
Boy, this could be something against the Raiders, I think.
Chiefs are pointing to the Raiders.
Joe Bugle, when asked about the penalties, he said, we talk about this every day, cutting back. They had a relatively penalty-free first period, but not so the second.
Heads to the face, number 51 on the defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Lance Johnstone.
Not a good place to do it.
Nope.
Well, I tell you, this is a different Chiefs team than it was a year ago. Chris Pym was their leading receiver a year ago, and now they got Andre Rison. Brett Perriman is ready to come back. They are going to be a much different football team.
Well, you're at the 7-yard line now. You have to make sure you don't run a running play where you're stopped in bounds.
This will be a fade into the end zone or something of that sort, I would think.
Or complete a pass outside the end zone and have the receiver go down in bounds. You have to think clock here as well. The clock is going to dictate the call.
And they have talked about this in the huddle.
But a lot of times teams don't manifest it correctly. Gerbach throwing into the end zone too high. Now they've got 7 seconds intended for Greg Hill, and they are not going to run another play. Even though we saw there were a couple of games yesterday where this same sequence sort of came into play, and I'm trying to remember it was the Philadelphia Green Bay game where they ran a play with 6 seconds to play, that little 3-yard incomplete pass, and then still had time to kick the field goal.
And a little something to chew on here prior to this kick. The Raiders have lost the last 16 games in which they trailed at halftime.
Stoyanovich, a chip shot, 24-yarder. It's good, and this is going to be a 17th game that they'll trail at halftime and not win if they do not come from behind, because we have 2 ticks remaining in the first half, and Kansas City has reassumed the lead.
That's the longest streak by any team in the NFL if you're keeping track. But stop and think about that. Desmond Howard touched this football. Howard, a high school teammate of Elvis Gerbach.
And he caught, what, 19 touchdown passes from him? And
St. Joseph High School in Cleveland, and then they went to Michigan together.
And he was the quarterback of record when Desmond won the Heisman Trophy.
Yep, these two have quite a history together.
Stoyanovich sends a ground ball down to the 11-yard line. It winds up in the hands of Tim Hall, and he's brought down to the 33, and that'll do it for the first half. Good half in Oakland tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs at the half, leading the Oakland Raiders by a score of 13-10. And let's go to New York and Chris Berman.
I thought the Cupper was going to join us.
Well, he was somewhere in those twinkling lights.
I know, laying back, hopping grapes into his mouth.
Absolutely.
Living the good life. It's only Lee can live.
Elvis Gerbach is loosening up as we get ready to start the second half. The Chiefs beginning this season, tough schedule with 2 games on the road at Denver, at Oakland. They go home next week to face the Buffalo Bills, who come off their victory over the New York Jets yesterday. And the Oakland Raiders will take on the Atlanta Falcons next week in Atlanta. And some question about their quarterback, Chris Chandler, who suffered a concussion yesterday. That is unknown right now.
Elvis Gerbach picked a good time to come to Kansas City. With the likes of Brett Perriman and Andre Rison, and be a good time to fix my headset.
Jeff George getting ready to come out after the kickoff because Oakland will receive. That's Desmond Howard, and they've been trying to kick away from Howard, and most teams will. And that's why Tim Hall, to whom he was discussing things a moment ago, will have to form a pretty good little tag team here. Rusty Tillman, longtime New Orleans assistant, now here. Special teams coach, and we get ready to start the second half. Stoyanovich. And that one was almost overrun by Howard, who had to reach back to pull it in, and then Desmond is stopped at the 24-yard line. And that's where the Oakland Raiders set up shop. Fred Moletnikoff, one of the all-time Oakland greats, the receiver, with some words over the headset. There he is. Fabulous Freddie.
One of the many Hall of Famers that used to wear the silver and black of the Oakland, Los Angeles Oakland Raiders. Certainly one of the most colorful wide receivers in the history of the game of football.
And it's a first down now for the Raiders from the 24-yard line. They start with Harvey Williams going in motion. A little toss to Kaufman. He gives it on an end around to Tim Brown with some room to roam up past the 30-yard line and taken down at the 36-yard line by Reggie Tongue. A first down for Brown.
You know, a reverse like that does so many things, especially early in a half like this. You know, the obvious is it picks up a first down. But the other thing it does, it automatically now retards the backside pursuit of the Kansas City Chiefs. Because the guys that got burned on this one, in this case, Pella McDaniels, number 77, the guy who's really responsible for the upfield contain on that side of the football, he's going to be slower into his pursuit now for the next couple of series, thinking that maybe another reverse is going to come my way. It accomplishes a lot of things.
First and 10 from the 36-yard line as Jeff George steps out, throws on the run. Nice leaping catch is made by Ricky Dudley at the 41 of Kansas City, a first down.
Well, the irony of Ricky Dudley and the way he catches the football is that he can catch those kinds of balls. I mean, he can make fantastic grabs, one-handed leaping catches. Where he has a problem is when it is right in his hands.
Boy, and that's pass protection that Art Shell and Gene Upshaw would be proud of. Another display of giving Jeff George all sorts of time to look downfield, move around.
Boy, that's a great effort.
And that might be the best catch of Dudley's career.
He's 6'6", and he went as high as he could go to get it. A former basketball player at Ohio State. That didn't hurt him.
Thomas off the field at the moment at the 42-yard line, with Pella McDaniels spelling Thomas.
Another tremendous job of pass blocking.
Flag is down at the 42.
George looking to get the ball to Brown, but good coverage by Hasty.
Gary Lane.
Offside. Defense. Number 77. Lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Well, we talked about Thomas out and McDaniels in, and there he is.
And with Thomas out, Marty Schottenheimer's group is not generating much of a pass rush. Their 4 guys aren't getting to the quarterback with Derek Thomas over on the sideline. Remember, Neil Smith is playing now in Denver, and Gunther Cunningham is trying to figure out a way to pressure Jeff George with a 4-man rush.
And if you can't do it with the 4-man rush, what do you do, Dan? You got to bring guys from the corner or the safety blitz.
Got to gamble.
1st and 5 from the 37-yard line. Good protection again. Pass is caught by Ricky Dudley. Touchdown, Oakland.
Oh, they were trying to cover him with Anthony Davis. Tough to do on a guy like Ricky Dudley who can run. Anthony Davis with him all the way. That's bad coverage, and give it to Jeff George. He read it quickly and got the ball to Dudley, but a fine catch too.
And no pass rush whatsoever. Again, we see a display of what Jeff George can do if he gets a clear and clean and unobstructed look at the football field. He will find the guy that is the most open, and by God, he will get him the football. But look at this. Nobody anywhere near Jeff George.
Well, Davis is trying to cover him, and no chance.
Cole Ford for the point after.
Well, quite a series there for Ricky Dudley. He ends up with a touchdown, but don't forget his acrobatic leap a couple plays prior.
So the Raiders score on the first drive of each half tonight and retake the lead. 17-13.
And how sweet for Ricky Dudley. 76 yards in only 3 plays. And that trailing position the Raiders had at halftime is evaporated.
Cole Ford, been doing this all night, sends it into the end zone, 2 yards deep. Vanover, straight up the middle, past the 30, and shaved out of bounds by Cole Ford up near the 40-yard line. Anthony Davis, the man who was beaten. Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator, and the looks of agony, especially on the man on the left, because of this.
Great catch this first reception as he went up all 6'6", as high as he could go to come down with it. And then, of course, on the touchdown, they tried to cover him with the linebacker. That just doesn't get it done. On somebody who can run like this, you can't do it. Edwards trying to stay with him, he couldn't.
Greg Hill to the outside. Gets spun down by Albert Lewis up at the 41-yard line.
15 years in the National Football League.
Penalty.
Albert can still come up and make a tackle, and the Chiefs are going to be penalized 10 yards for the hold, but a man his age, Albert, will still come up and stick his face in things.
Holding offense, number 38, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
That is Kimball Anders, the fullback.
Again, Albert reaches out with that left, then gets the right, and drags downhill.
Boy, you avoided that face mask, too. A lot of players would have gone for that mask. They couldn't have avoided it.
10-yard penalty, 1st and 20 now. Chiefs from their own 29-yard line. Quarterback comes back to the left side and winds up hitting Andre Rison for a gain of 7 yards. Tackled there by Terry McDaniel.
Boy, when Rison caught the football, there are a lot of receivers we see in this game today would be peeking. He didn't. He's tough. He's a combative guy. He'll fight you for the football, and he'll usually come down with it. He runs that slant in as good as anyone around.
Second and 13. Big hole for Kimball Anders out to the 49, very close to a first down. Darrell Russell, their #1 draft choice, makes the stop.
Good call to have on, Dan, when you got a blitz coming.
Is there anything that Kimball Anders doesn't do for Marty Schottenheimer and the Chiefs? He is a tremendous blocker, as we've seen tonight when he gets an opportunity to have the football under his arm out in the open field. He makes people miss, and of course he's a very gifted pass receiver.
Last 2 Pro Bowls have been graced with the presence of Anders. You saw Greg Minuski down in a crouch trying to get a good line on this spot, and it's a first down. Joe Bugle, longtime assistant. It was Joe who coached the Hogs. He was in charge of the offensive line at Washington, offensive assistant under Joe Gibbs, and then he got an opportunity to be the head coach at Arizona for 4 years. Came here as an assistant, and the players went to bat for him in the offseason and convinced Al Davis to hire him. Marcus Allen picks up 6, loses the football. A scramble in the baseball dirt. Oakland has it. Ball squirting around. McLaughlin comes up with the football. Albert Lewis almost had it, and Marcus coughs it up.
Albert Lewis almost lost it, but McLaughlin comes up with it. Lewis tries to handle it.
But Lance Johnson of your screen will come in. Lance Johnstone, number 51. He gets the hand on the ball, rips it away from Marcus Allen. Albert Lewis almost picked it up and had it go for a touchdown, but at the bottom of this pile, Chester McLaughlin comes up with the football. And the Raiders now get a chance to display a bit of a killer instinct. Let's see what they can do with it.
That play was 5 yards from Marcus, and then a literal cloud of dust, to use the old football cliche, and James Jett makes the catch at the 47-yard line for a gain of 6. Something about September 8th for Marcus Allen. The last time Allen fumbled, last September 8th, he fumbled twice at Kansas City against the Raiders. KC still won the game.
A 4-man pass rush last time by Schottenheimer's group. No pressure on George. Sooner or later, they're going to have to gamble.
Second and a long 3. Hoffman finds the opening. Carter can't tackle him. Hasty can't tackle him. Touchdown. Flag down. Flag down inside the 5-yard line.
Coming in very late, too. Well, they moved it now out over the 5. Oh, what speed, though.
They put the flag down at the 6-yard line. It's a 47-yarder run into the end zone.
Are they going to call a block from behind? One of the Raiders threw a block down around the 5-yard line. I think James Jett was in the vicinity.
Illegal block in the back during the run. Number 82 in the offense. 10-yard penalty. Push down.
It was against Hasty, and I don't know whether Hasty could have caught him.
No, it's against James Jett. James Jett.
I mean, it was, the foul was against Hasty. Top of your screen is number 40. It looks like he might be closing, and there is the illegal block by James Jett.
Oh, and an unnecessary block, too. Hasty was not going to get to Napoleon Kaufman, but there's no question that Jett committed the foul. The crowd boos when they see it on the replay board, but he hit him in the back and knocked him down. That's, you know, Al Davis, as astute a football man as he is, he knows doggone well that's a penalty.
And it makes it 1st and 10 at the 16-yard line. Oakland up by 4 early 3rd quarter. Joe Aska, the sole setback. Pass over the middle. On to the goal line, in for the touchdown. Ricky Dudley again.
Dudley's erasing all of those doubts tonight. Just don't throw the ball into his chest. He's making some fine catches tonight.
And if the Chiefs don't start blitzing Jeff George, he might throw another 3 or 4 touchdown passes before this game is over. Another flat-footed, unobstructed throw by Jeff George.
Boy, but what a touch, too.
The Chiefs' defensive line is being obliterated by the Raiders' front 5.
Over, you'll see, over one Kansas City Chief, over the linebacker. Donnie Edwards was in front of him, but a perfect touch by George.
Cole Ford puts it through. And Joe Bugle has just watched his team, thanks to that man, Ricky Dudley, go up by 11, 24-13.
The emergence of Ricky Dudley coming up with the game of his young professional career, and the Oakland faithful's first look at what Jeff George can do if he's given the time.
Oakland up by 11. Vanover back to receive the kick. Again, Ford does the job, puts it into the end zone, a yard deep. And Vanover gets smothered at the 17-yard line by John Henry Mills. Former Oiler, a guy they picked up for special teams, and that's exactly why they picked him up. And there is a fumble. And a rugby scrum.
It's changed hands about 5 times at the bottom of that pile.
If this ball ends up belonging to the Raiders, chaos is going to break out here.
Yeah, the crowd saw the hit. They didn't see the fumble, but the players did.
Rob Holmberg, number 57, is a Raider that's very close to it. Vanover is awful close to it.
The Raiders are saying they have it.
Yeah, but there's...
And they do have it.
Well, there was a long, protracted struggle for the football, and the Raiders won.
Rob Holmberg is the last guy to emerge. Somehow able to find oxygen at the bottom of that pile and comes up with a football.
And Rusty Tillman, his elation is equal to Vanover's despair.
Now, if this is indeed the old Raiders with their new arm, you're going to put the ball in the end zone. That's what they used to do. You get the ball, you get the turnover, you go up the top and get everything you can.
First down at the 16-yard line. George going for the end zone. No flag, incomplete. Harvey Williams said, how can you not throw one? Terry Wooden was there. And not playing the role of a wooden Indian either.
Ooh, that's a reach. What a nice reach.
Well, the ball, I don't know if one of the factors was that the ball was thrown deep enough into the end zone that Harvey wouldn't have had a play on it anyway. Sure looked like it could have brought a flag. I've seen less than that, thought. Here's the blitz.
Second down. And Davis can't get him. Now he does. He forces George to throw the ball into the turf.
And George is wincing. Jeff was grimacing as he was getting up. Jeff George might have landed awkwardly on that right hand. Ooh. He's shaking it.
Appears to be all right, though, checking for plays on his left wrist.
And Kansas City is going to have to do much more of this. They did it after the first drive of the Raiders in the first quarter and were very effective with it. Then they got away from it, and George ate them alive. They've got to come back to it.
Anthony Davis kept after him, missed him once, and finally put George down. We saw what the blitz can do. You can't do it every time, but the Chiefs went far too many snaps without a blitz and have given up some scores.
Third down and 10. No blitz, a simple four-man rush, and the pass is incomplete, thrown into the middle of the action. Tim Brown right over the middle, Jerome Woods the nearest coverage. Fourth down. So the Raiders, who would have had a touchdown were it not for the penalty, can't gain a yard on 3 plays. And we take a look at Thomas working against Harlow.
And that's Derek taking strictly an upfield rush, and then when he tries to go back to the inside, can't make the move, and Harlow just smothers it.
Cole Ford, this will be a 34-yard field goal. And it is just good. just inside the right upright. Vanover is disgusted. His fumble sets up 3 more for Oakland. 9:50 left in the third. It's now Oakland 27, Kansas City 13. Coliseum, home of the Raiders and the Oakland A's. On a sparkling night in the Bay Area. Capacity crowd looking on here as the Oakland Raiders are now up by a score of 27-13, and Cole Ford, who's kicked every kickoff into the end zone tonight, sends this one to the goal line. Vanover out of bounds up at the 34-yard line. College football coming your way. Dallas Cowboys in the Cowboys home opener next Monday night from Dallas. From the 34-yard line. Gerbach throws, leads Rison. He makes the catch, and the play was whistled dead at the 40-yard line. The emotional Andre Rison.
Well, you repeat it again. You want a receiver, if you're a quarterback, who will fight for a football and get his hands on it some way. This is a good look at Andre Rison.
Because it's pretty good coverage, Frank, by Terry McDaniel. He closes quickly. Well, I take it back. He did give him the middle of the field, expecting help from Eric Turner to the inside. They found the soft spot.
That was a 23-yard gain, 1st and 10 from the 43-yard line. A little dump off to Kimball Anders with a lot of room. Out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Doesn't matter whether it's Montana or Bono or Gannon or Gerbach. They've been doing that for a long time, that little dump off to Kimball.
And it wasn't until Elvis Gerbach took a good look downfield. He took a look at another 2 receivers downfield, maybe even 3, before he decided to dump it off. He's looking downfield, checks it off and dumps it to Kimball Anders.
On a 1st down, this is Anders, and no place to go this time. Wrapped up by Chester McLaughlin.
Well, this offense is just a Kansas City version of the San Francisco offense. And Gerbach, of course, very familiar with that. And it's going to improve considerably when Tony Gonzalez, the tight end, starts working into this lineup. He's like Ricky Dudley was a year ago, perhaps even better, because he is sure-handed. He's going to be a big help.
On 2nd and 12. Gerbach fires, and it is caught by the Sudden star, Andre Rison. Sudden as far as Kansas City's concerned anyway. Atlanta to Cleveland. Remember, he was going to be the godsend there. Art Modell gave him a huge contract. That didn't work out. To Jacksonville, to Green Bay. They cut him, and here he is.
He left out Indianapolis.
And Indianapolis, that's right. He started there. In fact, he was originally there and was part of the deal that sent him to Atlanta so that Indianapolis could draft Jeff George as the #1 pick in the '90 draft.
Brett Perriman is in the lineup also.
Perriman, number 85, 1st down from the 14. A little screen is set up to Greg Hill, and Hill takes it to the 7-yard line. Tackled by James Trapp. Gain of 7.
Well, Trapp saved a touchdown too. Good screen. Trapp able to pop through it and make the tackle.
Fred Whittingham, the defensive, he's one of the few defensive coordinators in the league who actually calls the defense from the sideline. Second and 3 from the 7. Nice play by James Trapp.
Well, that's one of the things you expect from a strong safety. When you get there, bring something with you and make the good tackle. Looked for a moment like Hill might have had the corner, but Trapp closes it off quickly.
Well, Trapp's turned into a fine safety too. He was a cornerback that struggled there, and it's turned into a real hitting, strong safety.
Yeah, he fought off the block of Brett Perriman.
Perriman playing hurt with a pulled hamstring, and it looks it.
3rd and a long 2, and Hill doesn't get that 2. Rob Fredrickson knocks him down at the 5-yard line. So here's a team down by 14 points and forced to settle for a field goal, which would still leave them down by 11.
Well, you've had the run stuffed twice in a row, and I think it's a good decision. You need the points on the board. You could take your entire heart away if you got down here and came away with nothing.
Fred Whittingham never likes to give up points, but when you're that close to your own goal line, a field goal's not bad.
23-yard field goal attempt. It's a lot better for the Chiefs than it would have been 2 years ago without a 2-point conversion. Then it really would have been a frustrating end of the drive, but at least now, down by 11, well, 2 scores could do it. Could. 27-16.
Kansas City Chiefs 16.
That list, one of these teams is going to be 0-2 at the end of the game tonight. Right now it's Oakland leading by 11, and the kickoff from Stoyanovich is taken at the 8-yard line by Desmond Howard. And Howard is up to the 32-yard line. Here are the teams. In fact, one year there were 3 teams that started with a record of 0-2 and made it, 1990. And on that list, if you go to the 1993 Cowboys, that was the team, and Emmitt Smith held out at the beginning of that year, you'll recall. They went 0-2. Jerry Jones felt compelled to get him in. He got him in, and the next thing you know, they won the Super Bowl. Last year it was the Patriots, 0-2, and they went to the Super Bowl before losing to Green Bay.
And the way they've looked at the start of this season might be going back.
Yes. First down for Oakland at the 32-yard line. And it's given to Tim Brown, the same play on which they started the second half. That one gained 12 earlier. This one's a little shorter. It's about a 7-yard pickup. And Lamar Hunt, one of the greats, one of the founders of the American Football League, that franchise that he owned back in 1960, the Dallas Texans. 3 years there. Wonderful man, great gentleman.
Hall of Famer, classy man. So is this man. I tell you, he suffered through last year. Kept a team that was 13-3 in 1995 and it wound up 9-7. He made what he thought were necessary changes on a lot of them.
Kaufman on 2nd and 3, and he's close to a first down. In fact, Frank, they really have had tremendous consistency. When you think about it, over the last 9 years, you have had Lamar Hunt owning the team, of course, since he's been the only owner in the history of the team. Marty Schottenheimer coaching, and Carl Peterson has been the president and, in effect, the general manager. And that's the longest-running triumvirate right now in the National Football League of owner, president / GM coach.
Well, it's a wonderful place to be for a franchise, too. That's a great city to play in. You talk to the players, they love to play there. Coaches love to be there. And they're playing for a great owner. It can't get much better than that.
It's one of our favorite stops on the Monday Night Tour.
It sure is. We'll be there in early November when they face Pittsburgh. On 3rd and 1, after a stuttering start, Kaufman is able to gain his footing and take it to the 44-yard line. Stopped by Reggie Tung, first down.
First down, Raiders.
Napoleon Kaufman, I think, has taken himself out of the game. We saw that last week. I mean, he's got a motor that runs at about 100 RPMs too many. And he does really tire down quickly. They'd like to get the ball to him 20, 25 times, but he needs a little break. So they bring in Joe Aska, and that's not bad.
Although in college at the University of Washington, he was able to carry the ball with that kind of a load.
And he carried it. I looked it up today. He carried it 255 times as a senior.
You got a shove here. Donnie Edwards came in and shoved Harvey Williams.
Yes, while the ball was in the air. There's a page out of Dick Butkus's old playbook. Harvey Williams is coming across the field, looking back for the ball. The ball's in the air, and that's about as obvious as it gets.
There's no foul in the play. The play was behind the line of scrimmage. There can be no interference. Second down.
Behind the line of scrimmage. Harvey Williams ran a pattern that came all the way back behind the line of scrimmage. Let's look at it. You see where the ball was.
44-yard line.
44-yard line.
This redefines a shallow pattern.
That's close.
Yeah.
Well,
he was far behind the line of scrimmage after he was hit.
That's right. The contact put him behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Practically in the end zone.
Well, that redefines a shallow pattern, doesn't it?
It does. Second down and 10 now from the 44-yard line. George throws, and it's a low throw intended for Brown and knocked away by Reggie Tongue.
Reggie Tongue defending. 3rd and 10.
Nickel defense coming in now for Kansas City. They bring Derek Thomas back in. It'll be interesting to see what they do. 3rd down, sure pass. Will they come, Dan, or will they not? If they don't come, this guy's gonna kill you.
Well, I'm just speculating here, but on a 4-man pass rush tonight during the course of this game, Jeff George is throwing at somewhere around an 80% completion percentage. The 4-man, it's not that George is the greatest quarterback that ever played. The 4-man rush from Kansas City isn't generating any pressure.
Raiders take a timeout preparatory to a 3rd down and 10 call.
Well, it's an interesting timeout too, Al. Jeff George he called the timeout.
Well, they've had to take, they've taken 3 of their timeouts tonight.
I think once again he got the play in too late to get it off. So he had to call the timeout.
Well, 3:02 left in the 3rd. Let's get an update from Lynn Swan.
Towards the end of the first half, it's because of communication, or I should say a lack of. You see, in the first quarter, they lost their headset system to Jeff George. He could not hear the plays being called in. Therefore, they're being run in and waggled in. The offense never got into a rhythm. They got it back sometime in the second quarter and kept it going. And Joe Bugle said that's the #1 difference between their success in the first half and their not successful drives in the first half. Al?
So balky technology may be at fault here, or at least in the first half in terms of the timeouts.
Good work, Lynn.
Yep. 3rd down and 10 now at the 44-yard line. And
oh, you got to call that.
Well, Donnie Edwards had come across.
No contact.
I think
but if he's unabated,
right?
The rule is if he's unabated to the quarterback, you're supposed to blow the whistle.
He was abating himself at a certain point. Maybe that's why the whistle didn't blow.
Well, Jeff abated him. He was the abatee.
Well, supposedly when a defender is clear across the line of scrimmage and has a free run at the quarterback.
Offside. Defense, number 59. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
They're supposed to blow the whistle and stop the play cold at that point to keep the quarterback from really getting walloped.
Kind of answered that question as to whether or not they were going to come with a blitz. 3rd and 5. Let's see what
it really points out, doesn't it, guys, the luxuries that really good defensive teams have when they can generate a pass rush with only their front 4 defensive linemen. You know, the Green Bays and the Dallases. What a luxury those teams have. There's Pat Harlow getting a head start. This will.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 77. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
This was the previous play. Jeff George kind of. And look at Donnie Edwards fall backwards.
You think Jeff George is not a competitor?
Yeah, you think he's a little feisty?
How about Kevin Green yesterday headbutting Druckenmiller without a helmet before the game?
Did that surprise you?
Unbelievable.
Did that surprise you?
No.
And yes, it was unbelievable.
Incredible. 3rd down and 10 from the 44-yard line. George going deep, and the ball comes loose, incomplete, as James Jett with great speed and Mark McMillan back there with him, and then a little scrum breaks out.
Did McMillan get a hand on that? I don't know whether Jett just dropped it. McMillan is only 5'7", but he glues himself to a receiver.
It was such a bad throw, too.
Let's take a look. He was right there, and McMillan.
Look at that throw.
Oh, yeah, McMillan got enough of a. He had a hand in there. It certainly distracted him.
It looked like it might have glanced off McMillan's shoulder pad.
It did. That's great defensive play by the little man. Mark McMillan.
Just got enough of it.
No, actually, it missed his shoulder pads. It hit his left arm.
And he took it out of there.
Yep. But what a marvelous throw, though, by Jeff George. Whoa.
McMillan grazed it, and that was all it took. Now the kick by Araguz. Fair caught by Vanover at the 13-yard line. 2:42 remaining in the third quarter. And Kansas City will begin deep in its own territory. Mark McMillan, he's been all of the rest at NFL.com on your computer.
Where else for to do it?
Well, good question.
On your electric mixer?
On your harmonica at the 14-yard line. A flag is thrown.
Oh, yeah. Albert was way in there too early.
Ted Popson got popped by Lewis.
Lewis just did not time that out. And he's so good at it. And he knows it.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 29.
Oh, come on, Joe. Sure it was.
It was Lionel Washington and Darrell Green 15 years later.
Gerbach throws too high, intended for Popson.
Oh, and he was wide open. Gerbach overthrowing, and he knows it. Popson wide open. He did his job. Gerbach didn't do his.
Back next week. .com.
Right. 2nd and 10. That's Johnstone breaking the play up at the line of scrimmage. Kimball Anders for next to no gain. It'll be 3rd down and long.
And the Chiefs right now are entering that stage with 2 minutes left here in the third quarter. They need to make a move. They need to get out of this end of the field. This would be a timely first down if they could muster one.
3rd and 10 from the 22. Last 2 minutes of the third quarter. Gerbach buys time, but he's going to have to run out of bounds well short of the first down. And Kansas City is forced to kick, down by 11 with 1:45 to go in the third.
Boy, that's just fine play by the Raiders secondary. They didn't release their men to come up and pressure Gerbach, who can't run the ball that well. They knew he was not going. How many games have they lost when they trailed at the half, Dan?
16 in a row, I believe.
Yep. Aguiar's kick. Hold in 32, Desmond Howard. Turns it back upfield, gets into Chiefs territory, takes it to the Kansas City 44-yard line.
Ooh, what a weapon.
Ran laterally, picked his spot, shot downfield.
Well, he got a block. He got a block back at the beginning of this thing that was looking like it was going to be awful close to a block in the back. Got a Raider down on the field, I believe, right at midfield.
Howard to the 49.
Well, it's just the old picket line that it works so well.
There is the block right there.
Got another one coming up here, too.
John Henry Mills, I believe, was the Raider that.
There's another one in the back that they could have called. Desmond Howard runs so well in traffic. Wonderful instincts.
And the Chiefs 45.
Second oldest cornerback in the league. Only older cornerback is Darrell Green of the Redskins, who will never quit, I'm convinced, ever. First down from the 45. A little shovel and a dangerous shovel. And a terrible shovel. Darren Anderson will go in for the touchdown. Well, Brett Favre did it yesterday in the game at Philadelphia, and it was intercepted.
Todd Sauerbrunn did it.
Todd Sauerbrunn did it for a 2-point conversion last week, and Jeff George just makes a terrible play.
Sometimes you think you can just do anything. Sometimes you're so competitive, you make really dumb mistakes, and we just saw one.
Might have to resurrect the Bonehead Award.
Yeah.
That was mind-numbing.
And just trying to make something happen.
Give a lot of credit there to Anthony Davis, who went right over Napoleon Kaufman. It was the pressure of Anthony Davis. That was a big-time play by Davis.
Wasn't it James Hasty that turned a Kansas City Raider game around a couple of years ago with an 80-yard interception return?
And now KC will go for 2 because they're down by 5, and this is only the second interception of Darren Anderson's career.
And give Gunther Cunningham at least some credit. The blitz that time paid off big time for the Kansas City Chiefs.
It was a delayed blitz too, and they came from the middle.
Anderson in his 6th year in the league. 27-22, 2-point conversion to try to.
Oh, the outside guy's wide open and uncovered.
Too late for that. Over the middle.
Oh, away. Oh my Lord! The Chiefs completely disregarded Greg Hill. The Raiders. They'd let him go.
And as it turned out, the Chiefs wound up disregarding him too because he was wide open.
We had a helmet come off.
Yeah.
There's a helmet off the head of Eric Turner.
And he put it back on as quickly as he could. Maybe we ought to consider intent.
After the incompletion, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 42 on the defense, removing his helmet. 15-yard penalty on the kickoff.
Well, they won't like that here.
Well, it means that the conversion is unsuccessful. That stands.
The Raiders are confused because of Greg Hill being left alone on the outside. Rob Fredrickson doesn't know what to do. So what point?
Pretty wild one. As OMC would say, how bizarre. 27-22. Desmond Howard is back to receive the kick, and this one should go into the end zone, but just barely despite the 15-yard penalty, and Desmond Howard brings it back to the 15-yard line. 56 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
A rather lengthy third quarter.
Yes. Is the second lowest percentage among quarterbacks with 60 starts who've entered the NFL since 1970. And we'll tell you in a second who has the worst percentage.
Well, that's a reflection of the teams he played with.
Exactly.
Yeah, he wasn't drafted by the 49ers.
If you're a football fan, think about it for a second. Who would have had a worse percentage than that? He was a very good quarterback. Napoleon Kaufman carries here for a yard.
A hint, he had his own song.
He had his own song and his own son, who's not a bad football player himself right about now.
Something about Rocky Top?
Well, the father of Peyton Manning, Archie Manning.
And who did he play with for all those years?
The Aints.
Frustration. Sometimes the numbers are not fair.
Archie should write a book about when good players play for bad teams.
Well, a lot of players could, Dan.
Second down and 9. George flings it over the middle to a wide open Timmy Brown. Brown is run out of bounds at the 37-yard line.
And Ricky Dudley came back and just put one on Reggie Tung. This is a big man to be coming back upfield and putting a pounding on somebody.
And I don't think Reggie Tung will forget that.
No.
Reggie Tung will be covering Ricky Dudley for a lot of years, the way things are shaping up for these two teams.
Watch there. There's Dudley. What a shot he puts on Tung.
The roar was the fans here at Oakland Alameda County Stadium saw that hit.
End of 3, Oakland 27, Kansas City 22. Monday Night Football back after this from our local stations. Fourth quarter starts in Oakland. First down for the Raiders from their 35-yard line. They lead by 5, and Tim Brown begins the period making a catch and forced out of bounds by Terry Wooden after a gain of about 6. Elvis Gerbach, his team down by 5 and blowing the opportunity to find the wide open Hill on that 2-point conversion play.
Well, both of them just have to forget it. There's a lot of football left to be played here for Greg Hill. 15 minutes worth, and that play is gone. Forget it.
Second down, 3. Tipped, incomplete.
Ron Bart got a handle up with it.
Well, a 5-man rush that time by Kansas City.
just keep showing something a little different, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. Gunther Cunningham playing the mind game with the Oakland offense.
Well, Gunther just more than anything wishing I could get some semblance of a pass rush out of just my 4 up front guys. It's not happening.
3rd and 3. That's Tim Hall in motion, number 45. And George has it deflected and incomplete. Tipped by Donnie Edwards. So a couple of tip passes. 4th down. Raiders to punt. Let's take a look at the statistics now through the first 3 quarters of play. It's a total of 49 points having been scored in the game.
Interesting game. A seesaw back and forth. The momentum that is.
Oakland's only turnover was the errant pass by Jeff George that was intercepted by Darren Anderson. Leo Araguz. Deep punt and caught, and that's a mistake. You don't fair catch it inside the 10-yard line, but Vanover just did it at the 7.
That's a large mistake.
51-yard boot. Gerbach starts deep in his own territory, trailing by 5. And Ike Hilliard, the Giants' good-looking rookie wide receiver, neck sprain, gone for about 6 weeks. Here's Greg Hill trying to give him some room to roam up to the 16-yard line for a gain of 8.
Guys, you know when a guy really gets the hook, when you know you're not going to play anymore, when your defensive team is out on the field and you're sitting on the bench over with the offensive football team. And that's what Larry Brown is doing right now. Look at that. He's sitting over with the offensive team. He can't see at all what's happening out on the field. I think it's pretty safe to say that he's been given the big hook by the Raiders.
2nd down and 2. Hill, he picks up the 1st down. And that's a costly hook, too. A lot of people around the league were very surprised. Al Davis loves trophies. And in a way, Larry Brown was a trophy because he was coming off a Most Valuable Player award in the Super Bowl. He had those 2 picks against Neil O'Donnell in the Dallas-Pittsburgh game. And a lot of people around the league who know a lot about football felt that Davis ridiculously overpaid for Larry Brown.
Well, to fit into his type of defense, I think they were concerned about that. The Raiders love to play the man-for-man defense, and Larry Brown did not play that much man-for-man, and particularly the year before when he had the good season. I think it was 8 interceptions or something like that.
Fake toss to buy time, and then it opens it up over the middle for Tony Gonzalez, the rookie tight end from the University of California. 1st down at the 40-yard line.
Of course, he took Desmond Howard. You could call him a trophy too, but what an addition he is.
That's a running trophy that he's got. Well, all the other defensive players are over there gathered around Fred Whittingham, the defensive coordinator who works the game from the sideline, ready to go in with whatever defensive package he might call. Larry Brown wants no part of that.
1st and 10 at the 39. Gerbach throws, and Andre Rison makes the catch. Big night for Andre. 7 catches for him.
And kind of, you're wondering how Elvis Gerbach can do with the deep out. You saw it right there. A lot of arm. Good move by Rison. And even separation from the cornerback.
And you know, Frank, even though they only scored 3 points against Denver last week, Gerbach really played a pretty good football game. And people in Kansas City were pleased with the way he performed. And from what we've seen tonight, looks like a pretty good move by Kansas City to sign this guy.
1st and 10, 44-yard line, going deep for Perriman. He reaches for it and can't make the catch.
And I think if Brett Perriman isn't injured with that sore hamstring, he might be able to find that extra half yard and make that catch.
Well, you even wonder about that's 6 points.
On 2nd and 10, Kimball Anders on an unusual call. One of those calls where you're trying to fake the defense. Well, they weren't faked.
For a couple big chunks of yardage.
Marty Schottenheimer's new favorite word, chunks. He wants yardage in chunks. They need a chunk of 8 here to convert. And they don't get it. Incomplete, intended for Danon Hughes. Covered by Lewis.
And good coverage by Lewis. Gerbach would have had to throw that perfectly for the completion again because of the coverage of Albert Lewis.
And I think that Elvis was looking over at referee Gary Lane. He wanted some type of a call for a late hit or roughing.
Darrell Russell, the high-priced rookie.
And Russell really didn't do anything wrong.
No.
He could have driven him into the ground a lot harsher than that.
Louis Aguiar. A floater, fair catch called for but not made, and down by the Chiefs at the 6-yard line. Pinning the Raiders there with 10:58 left in regulation. It's Oakland 27, Kansas City 22. To Dallas. Great game. Cowboys and the Eagles having added on Monday Night Football from Big D next Monday. Here's Kaufman picking up 2 up to the 8-yard line.
You know, the point, guys, even though that last drive of the Kansas City Chiefs didn't generate any points, it was one of their best drives of the night. Starting from their own 8-yard line, they take it all the way down the field, and when they turn it over, the Raiders start at their own 6. That's a very effective change of field position.
It'll be a better drive if they play defense now here.
Right.
They need to get this ball back in midfield.
And they have them deep right now, 2nd down and long. It's 2nd down and 9 from the 7-yard line. George throws, and it's Tim Brown making the catch up to the 20-yard line, and that's a 1st down. He's tackled there by Donnie Edwards. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by the complete line of 1997 Lincoln and Mercury automobiles. Lucent Technologies, we make the things that make communications work. Visa, the preferred card of the NFL, it's everywhere you want to be. And First Brands Corporation, makers of STP Complete Fuel System Cleaner. First down, 9:40 remaining in the 4th quarter. Oakland leading by 5, and Jeff George fakes the give, throws, Brown again to the 32-yard line. Amazing. Everybody in the ballpark knows that 81 is the primary receiver, and last week 3 touchdown catches. As you look at Perkins, and tonight that's 10 catches for Tim Brown.
Well, James Hasty put in the really difficult position of being locked up man-on-man with Tim Brown all the way across the field. He's in a trail position to start with, and there's no way he's going to catch up. The ball's right there. Hasty has absolutely no chance to make a play on that football.
And how many times have we seen that pattern, too?
Tim Brown with 10 receptions. The Raider record is 12. Tim Brown and their great tight end Dave Casper share that at 12. So Tim Brown with a lot of time left.
I would have thought Todd Christensen would have been in there too. He had a couple of great years.
Yeah, Christensen had a
up and took it into overtime, but only to lose.
2nd and 5 from the 37. Kaufman. And already in effect, Oakland has pretty much negated the drive that Dan talked about, a good-looking drive, but by getting it out to this point, even if they don't convert here, a punt's still going to probably send Kansas City deep into its own territory.
It's a 22-man game. The offense put on a good drive, got the defense in great field position, and the defense thus far hasn't been able to do anything with it. Big play for him right here.
And that 2-point conversion could really come back to bite them because they're down by 5 and not down by 3. 3rd down and 4.
It's getting bigger with every tick of the clock.
From the 38-yard line, 5-man rush, swing it out, pick up the 1st down as Napoleon Kaufman takes it to the 46-yard line to move the chains.
Is Kaufman all right? Everybody was slipping, but even he looked like he went down without being really challenged all that much. He's looking like a fatigued football player.
And he's taking himself out again. He did it a couple times last week. They finally had to take him. They finally had to take him out last week because of dehydration.
I think that's symbolic of the Raiders' radio communication system being down again.
Yep, you saw the sign. He said guarding Tess, I think was the message.
I think Tess is.
Well, that was last week on NBC. Sorry. 1st down at the 46-yard line. Here's Aska, stopped behind the line of scrimmage, a loss of 2, tackled by John Browning. This modern tech.
Remember when they used to do that?
In the old days, like 1994, 2nd and 12. George, and it's incomplete. Ricky Dudley in the neighborhood, but he was kind of spun around the other way.
I think he turned the wrong way. Either that or Jeff George anticipated the wrong turn. Maybe it was 15 instead of 14 they were looking for. This is bizarre, isn't it?
The 3rd down, 12, a very big play coming up here for Kansas City. Not only in terms of not necessarily field position at this point, but now the clock becomes a huge factor. You pick up a 1st down, you can chew up another 2.5 minutes. 3rd and 12. They rush 4. George throws, picked off, another interception. This time it's Dale Carter, and the Chiefs have it in Raider territory at about the 40-yard line, intended for Ricky Dudley.
Yeah, but Jeff George again throwing completely off balance, tried to flip it out. Carter is too quick for that. He had pretty good position on Dudley, and Jeff George throwing totally off balance, did not have what he wanted on that ball. Not a good play.
No, but it's also the throw of a quarterback who's got tons of confidence and thinks he can get the football in anywhere.
Well,
that time, Dale Carter was too good.
Carter. And Jeff George just picked up something.
This is Hill.
What a job just to get back anywhere close to the line of scrimmage.
Boy, now you look down there, Dan, these big guys today are so fast. Big Hill, with all his quickness, could not even.
Player taken in the draft.
2nd and 10 from the 44-yard line. Gerbach throws and incomplete. Ted Popson at the 40-yard line. 3rd down and 10 now.
And Gerbach has got a little Popson too.
Good pressure by Lance Johnstone. Comes in from the outside. Sheds the offensive tackle Glenn Parker and gets in there and puts a pretty good shot on Gerbach.
Kansas City can't do it with 4 men, but the Raiders did here late in the game. A 4-man rush. Pressure on the quarterback.
3rd and 10. Time for some Marcus Allen heroics, perhaps. There he is. He's in the game. Sole setback. Offset on 3rd and 10. They send it out into the pattern. Gerbach down at the 44-yard line. Darrell Russell.
They ran a loop on the inside. They run a tackle stunt. Darrell is the player that loops behind, comes up through the middle unblocked, and Elvis just couldn't find anywhere to go with the football.
Well, he was trying to go to Marcus Allen, who had hooked up 10 yards deep, but he didn't have time. That's a lot of football player right in your face. We're going to see number 96 for a lot of years.
First sack tonight for Oakland. Aguiar's kick is a very short one and an inopportune time because Desmond Howard fair catches it at the 26-yard line with only 4:33 to play.
Well, that's not the punt that Aguiar needed, and the Chiefs as well. Well, there's a case of Jeff George and the offensive team really being picked up by the defensive squad of the Raiders. That's where you slap hands with those guys as they're coming off the field and say, hey, thanks a lot.
30 yards.
And right now, I think Gunther Cunningham and the Chiefs defensive team, they've got to take some chances. They've got to. I don't know how many tricks he has, but he better use them all.
And that's also the way you can get hurt badly.
From the 26-yard line, Cochran swings to the outside and goes nowhere. Donnie Edwards wraps him up.
Of course, they are anticipating the Raiders working on the clock.
And they have to think about timeouts even at this point. They have, do the Chiefs, all 3.
Napoleon Kaufman right now is a running back that just doesn't seem to have it. He just doesn't have any quickness, any burst. Just walking back to the huddle after that play.
I wonder if there could be any residue, you think, from left over from last week when Joe Bugle wanted to use him as the feature back 20, 25 times a ball game. And from what we've seen tonight, what we saw last week, that's not going to happen.
Second down and 14. George on to Tim Brown. A big play, a loose ball, but they're going to say it's Oakland's ball. The ground caused the fumble. He gets hit by Reggie Tongue. The play is over. Oakland ball.
Reggie Tongue with the tackle.
And there's no argument there.
First down, Raiders.
And it's a first down up at the 39-yard line. Marty grimacing, among other things. You gamble when you take your timeouts as he did. You can't second guess that, but then your defense has to hold.
11 receptions now, 155 yards for Tim Brown. One away from the Raider record.
The knee of Reggie Tongue hit the football, but Tim Brown was already in the seated position.
And this is Dale Carter spilling Kaufman, and Kansas City has to take a timeout here, so now they're down to 1. Tim Brown, last week and this week, it's funny, you think about this team, the great receivers capped off by the Hall of Famer Fred Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch, and the rest. First guy in the history of the Raiders to go over 150 yards receiving in back-to-back games. TB, he's a good one. Timeout. .326 remaining in regulation in Oakland. Second week of the season. We go to Dallas next week. Dallas against Philadelphia.
Going to be an interesting call here. How much faith do you have in your quarterback, Jeff George? Your second long yardage. 3:26 remaining, and you've got Kansas City with 1 timeout remaining. Game of strategies.
If I was anybody on the defensive side of the ball for Kansas City, I might keep track of that guy.
Just he's only caught 11 tonight. I mean,
a subtle hint.
That might get your attention.
Harvey Williams in motion. And Kaufman gets spun down by Hasty, but at least he stayed in bounds. And that forces Kansas City to use a timeout, their final one. So only once will the clock stop for the Chiefs, and that's at the 2-minute warning.
3rd and 14.
And again, that missed 2-point conversion is looming very large.
What do you do now, Dan? You put it up in the air. You got Jeff George with the good hand. You got great receiver number 81. You need 14 yards on 3rd down. You get a first down. You pretty much lock this game up.
Well, a lot of things have to be going through Joe Bugle's mind. One is that Kansas City has moved the football pretty well. It's not that your defensive team has just completely smothered their offense. So, you know, do you play it ultra conservatively, run the football, punt, and say my defense is going to do it? Well, that may or may not be true. With a guy like Jeff George, I think you have to play with the confidence of not being afraid to put the football in the air.
And only one way to stop the clock for Kansas City, and that's the 2-minute warning.
And Napoleon Kaufman, the single back, has been relatively ineffective here in the second half.
On 3rd down, they have to get to the 49-yard line to convert. It's thrown over the middle. It's caught by Kaufman. He's got the first down.
Nice play. Well, he hasn't been effective running the ball. You know something? Kansas City didn't pay any attention to it.
Good call. Good call.
He was not the primary receiver. Jeff George took a good hard look downfield trying to find somebody and found Napoleon Kaufman.
But again, he had a lot of time to look down the field. No pressure at all. Lots of time.
And Anthony Davis is the guy that's responsible for Napoleon Kaufman. He's looking right at him when he comes out of the backfield and then lets him go.
Anthony Davis has had a long night at pass defense.
Joe Aska And Kansas City cannot stop the clock. It'll only stop with a 2-minute warning. So if Oakland can pick up one more first down, they can run the clock out.
And I think what we just saw right there, in a critical situation like that, showing the confidence to put the ball in Jeff George's hands and let him make the decision when you could have gone conservative, says an awful lot about his stature in a relatively short period of time with the Oakland Raiders. Jeff George is the man here in Oakland.
Second down 10 at the 39-yard line. Aska. So Kaufman gets a breather again. Kaufman tonight carried the ball 21 times. Most carries he has ever had in a game. 21 with 87 yards. But the biggest play may have been that last one, that's reception.
It's apparent that's a guy who's whipped. He is. There's a guy who left it out on the field.
2-minute warning. Raiders up by 5.
We might have a
Don't forget to start your NFL Sunday each week on ESPN with NFL Countdown, and then all of the highlights on NFL Primetime each Sunday on ESPN. Don't forget, next week we'll be in Dallas as the Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Great rivalry resumes. We've done some Dallas-Philly games in the past on Monday Night Football, and they have been memorable. By the way, Emmitt Smith, the x-rays were negative. He was hurt last night in the Arizona game, and they're going to check him out obviously throughout the week. It appears promising from what we understand right now, though. No broken ribs. They will take another look at him, and according to Emmett, he felt better today than yesterday. So we look forward to seeing Emmett, Aikman, and the gang next Monday night.
Well, I've been broken a few, and I think you have, Dan. Had he broken a few, he would not feel very good today.
No. Nor would he have slept very well or done much of anything.
Hopefully never have to sneeze.
Well, it's third down now as play resumes. Third down and 7. And if they get those 7, they can run the clock out. And it's a draw, and they won't come close. And Browning knocks down the ball carrier, Napoleon Kaufman. George winds up in the dirt, and now they can take the clock all the way down. In fact, they'll probably take it all the way down and take the penalty if they have to, because they're going to punt anyway.
4th down, 10 yards to go.
There's a man on an island right now. Well, a cornerback is always on an island, but that's an island of a different sort right now. Larry Brown.
He had to be in the defensive scheme at the beginning of the game because he was in the game when Andre Rison made a key catch on him that turned into Kansas City points. And he came out in the second half, and he has not taken part in any kind of the defensive meetings or get-togethers.
That's the first time he got up from the bench right there.
It's been time to go home.
Delayed, decline, 4th down.
So the clock down to 109. Now Gerbach will come out, and again, because of that missed two-point conversion earlier, he'll have to guide them all the way down into the end zone without a timeout from wherever they wind up with the football now. Leo Araguz to punt for the Raiders. High floating kick, just a little too far.
Nice try.
Vanover picks it up.
Knowing he has nothing to lose.
Right, touchback was signaled.
Goes into the end zone for a touchback.
And Gerbach now needs to go 80 yards in 58 seconds.
With no TOs.
We've seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
Right away for Elvis to announce his arrival in Kansas City.
Yeah, they haven't been home yet.
Well, you'd like to think at this point you have a little more team speed.
Trips right. Three-man rush coming. Marcus Allen in the game to keep him in the block. Gerbach throws, finds the open man. That's a 19-yard pickup to Lake Dawson, who's been quiet tonight. First catch of the evening. James Trapp with the tackle. Again, no timeouts for KC. To the 40. Three-man rush again. Swing it out. Dawson. This time only a 2-yard gain, maybe one. Second down. Joe Bugle on the verge of his first victory as the head coach of the Raiders. Marty Schottenheimer in danger of going 0-2 for the first time in his career. He started coaching in the NFL in 1984.
The Raiders the last two times came with just a three-man pass rush.
But the easy place to throw the ball is in the middle of the field. They'll take away the sidelines from you, but that's when you're going to lose time on the clock.
Happy with that last play call. Second down and 10. And that's caught? No. Brett Perriman may have caught it, but he was out of bounds. He was popped out by Lionel Washington.
That side of the field, the sideline markings have almost disappeared. I certainly couldn't see from over here where the definition of the sideline is with Perriman trying to work it. You can see his both feet are well out of bounds, way out of bounds. Yep. But look at that, the white covering on the ground is gone.
Right. Third down and 9. Elvis hit as he throws, finds the open man. This time it's Perriman. He's to the 31-yard line.
Well, right now they want to spike it.
If they have to spike it, they have to get set, make sure there's no penalty, spike the football, clock ticking down. Elvis will take the snap and down it. Now he has time for a couple of plays from the 33-yard line.
That is the problem with a three-man pass rush.
Gerbach is being very casual about it, but this play clock is ticking down.
You're asking two of your guys to beat two defenders, one of them to whip a guy straight up, and it's not happening here.
Ball at the 32-yard line. 10 seconds left in the game. Oakland up by 5.
Gerbach's going to have to hurry to get this off.
Yeah, we're going to see a four-man rush here.
Trips right, Gerbach looking left. Gerbach going into the end zone. For a touchdown.
Beautifully thrown.
Andre Rison.
What a game for Rison. There are no flags.
Incredible.
And for all of you that are believers that the prevent defense only prevents you from winning, there is a textbook example.
Woo.
What a bitter play for the Kansas City Chiefs to put on the Raiders.
This house is stunned.
And Andre Rison has just become the first man in the history of the National Football League to catch a touchdown pass for 6 different teams.
What a good
move.
There. What a good move he put to the outside. You would have thought he would have had double coverage on him. He didn't. Took it upfield. He was wide open, and Gerbach right on target.
But I'll tell you something about Elvis Gerbach. He didn't impress the mayor of San Francisco, but he might be good enough to be the mayor of Kansas City.
Take that, Willie Brown.
Terry McDaniel.
You're right.
Had Rison all to himself. And watch Rison. Now he makes a little move to the outside, right here. Little bit of look, and McDaniel comes up. He runs right by him. Gerbach is absolutely perfect with it.
Yep.
And I would have thought McDaniel would have kept him in front of him no matter what.
Credit Kansas City's offensive line on that entire drive down the field. Nobody touched Elvis Gerbach.
2-point conversion of moving up.
Well, Johnstone moved first, but then Criswell, the left tackle, flinched and returned.
False starts, offense, number 69, 5-yard penalty, retry.
Marty cannot believe this.
That is amazing.
Just like I coached it, just like I coached it.
Marty, whose tag has always been conservative, very rarely has won a game. Well, very few coaches have won a game in this fashion.
First of all, we've all been around this game long enough to know we have seen it before, and everybody in this stadium had seen it before because nobody left prior to the start of that drive. Some of them are leaving now.
Well, you saw Carl Peterson a moment ago. Bugle is about apoplectic.
And I think Rison can unpack.
There's the president of the Chiefs. And in the meantime, Andre Rison has just about burned Al Davis's house down. And you know what I mean.
Unfortunately, we do.
It's a bit of a reach, but we do.
Yes, I know you do.
What a sense of stunned disbelief on the part of everyone who roots for the Raiders. I can't imagine the anguish that Joe Bugle is feeling right now.
Well, this tacked on to last week when their loss to the Oilers. Look, well, I tell you, you think this game doesn't hurt? But they came from behind 3 times last week, took it into overtime, only to lose down there, and now this tonight.
A game that they just completely took control of at the beginning of the third quarter. They're on the verge of running Kansas City right out of the stadium.
This is the 2-point conversion after the penalty, and that's incomplete, intended for Ted Popson. And now just the kickoff, and the clock starts.
Another flag out.
The Raider touches the football. Another flag? Yep. Back at the 17-yard line.
Greg Baker defending. There's a penalty flag on the play.
To Green Bay, and they used him because Brooks got hurt last year, and he was functional, but didn't re-sign him.
And he's really good.
And KC said, hey, look, he's the kind of guy we need. And he just paid for his entire year's contract tonight. It'll be one of those Cal Stanford plays probably. Well, they did get it to Desmond Howard. They got it to the right guy, but the game ends with Howard tackled at the 47. And the Kansas City Chiefs have pulled off a miracle victory. No other way to describe it. And in the long history of this series, it's appropriate that right now, after 74 battles, there have been 2 ties, and the Raiders have won 36 times, and the Chiefs have won 36 times.
Less than a minute, no timeouts, a new quarterback, whole new offensive set of players with Andre Rison and Perriman and people like that, and look what happened.
Unbelievable.
Think of all the people who turned this off. When they wake up in the morning,
call them tonight. I don't know what happened.
I hope there weren't many.
Talk to you from Dallas next week. Until then, Al Michaels, Frank.